go ahead and get started. This is the regular meeting of the Peralta Community College District Board of Trustees for November 14th, 2023. Let's go ahead and call this meeting to order at 6:04. Let's go ahead and get started with our Pledge of Allegiance. And in honor of our recent Veterans Day, I would love to ask Trustee Johannes to lead us. Thank you very much. And I want to wish our veterans a very happy belated Veterans Day. And that would include Chancellor Jackson, Dr. McKinley, and that would also include Trustee Withrow and Trustee Johannes. So thank you very much for your service to our country. Let's go ahead and proceed with roll call.
Student Trustee Masson?
Here.
Trustee Withrow?
Here.
Trustee Johannes?
Here.
Trustee Gonzalez-Ewan?
Yes, right here.
Trustee Napolia-Bellaris?
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez-Brito?
Here.
Trustee Quinlan?
Here.
Trustee Delphine Polk?
Here. Okay, we will move to 3.4, affirmation of the statement of cooperation. The Peralta Board has adopted a statement of cooperation that codifies our commitment to set the bar for excellence in governance in community college leadership and to lead by example for our Peralta colleges. The full statement of cooperation is attached to this agenda item, but in summary, we have committed to build trust and seek to understand each other, to be prepared and follow good governance and ethical protocols, and to model the behavior we want others to exhibit. We therefore commit to honoring and upholding these commitments in words and in action. And we'll move right to 3.5, report of action taken in closed session. VP Quinlan, I don't believe we have anything to report out.
No.
Okay, thank you very much. We will move to 3.6, approval of the agenda. Motion, please. Any changes? Seeing none.
Move approval.
Thank you.
Second.
So,
VP Quinlan.
yes, I can't get my board doc, but whatever the.
Please.
Whatever the warrant payment and the purchase order approval are, if I can pull those from the agenda.
Those are
Already in action, sir.
Thank
Do you
you.
have anything to pull from consent? Okay. Does anyone have anything to pull from consent at this time? Seeing none, I have approval from a motion by Trustee Gonzalez-Yuan, second by Trustee
Second.
Reese. Let's move to a vote.
Student Trustee Masson?
Yes.
Trustee Withrow?
Yes.
Trustee Johannes?
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez-Ewan?
Yes.
Trustee Napolia-Bellaris?
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez-Brito?
Yes.
Trustee Quinlan?
Yes.
Trustee Delphine Polk?
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. Let's move to 3.7, approval of the minutes. Motion, please.
Come on.
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you, VP Quinlan, and thank you, Trustee Johannes. Let's move to a vote.
Student Trustee Masson?
Yes.
Trustee Withrow?
Yes.
Trustee Johannes?
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez-Ewan?
Yes.
Trustee Napolia-Bellaris?
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez-Brito?
Yes.
Trustee Quinlan?
Yes.
Trustee Delphine Polk?
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. We will move to 3.8, Associated Student Government Reports. Do we have anybody in the room? Is there anybody, Sasha, that we have to speak for associated students, please?
They should be on. If they're not raising their hand, then they must not be. I don't see them on.
If anyone has an associated student report, please raise your hand on Zoom.
Maybe they're in person.
If there's anyone in the boardroom, please step up to the podium. Okay, I'm not seeing anybody. If we need to, we can come back to this item. We will go ahead and move to 3.9, the Peralta Classified Senate Report.
Hello and good evening. The Classified Senate would like to begin by sending our congratulations to the Board of Trustees for reaching the notable milestone of selecting our new Peralta Chancellor. The Classified Senate is also very thankful for all of those who participated throughout the process. And of course, our work is not over, but we can take a little break. We can sort of begin to close out another chapter of our Peralta antics and begin a new era in a new calendar year just around the corner. While we continue to report on our incremental steps towards full implementation of professional development for classified, I would just like to reiterate our commitment to this endeavor. The 4 colleges are engaged at different stages of planning and spend down of our IEPI allocations. It's proving to be a useful exercise of brainstorming, planning, and implementation. At Berkeley City College, for example, the ad hoc committee on PD is in the midst of planning a one-day retreat. It's scheduled for December 1st in Berkeley. A second retreat is tentatively planned in late March of 2024. At the College of Alameda, the Professional Development Committee has scheduled their first classified flex day for March 28th and 29th. Meanwhile, Hope Lane and Katrina Santos of Laney College attended the annual gathering of the Senates last week, where leadership opportunities and advancement into administrative roles for classified and faculty was a key topic of interest. It was announced that the American Association of Community Colleges, the AACC, is back. There is allegedly interest to lobby in Sacramento, beginning with the California League of Colleges, for a certificating employees based on experience, college experience, to demonstrate equivalency for those who may not otherwise meet minimum qualifications for the administrative role. If successful, this would actually align with some of the sentiments expressed in previous board meetings regarding the desire or need to do more to promote more Peralta employees from within. So we shall see. This will actually conclude my remarks for this evening. I thank you again very much. Have a wonderful evening and a restful Thanksgiving holiday.
Thank you very much. We will move now to 3.10, the District Academic Senate Report, and I see President Goldstein here in the boardroom.
Thanks very much. Hey folks, Matthew Goldstein, President of the District Academic Senate. Tonight I'd like to welcome the incoming Chancellor. I understand that's a little proleptic, but I'm confident we'll get to that later on the agenda. And I want to thank some folks who were involved in the Chancellor selection process. And I want to update folks on the State Academic Senate Plenary that kicks off on Thursday, and a few goings on at our own local District Academic Senate as well. First, on behalf of the DAS, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to the incoming Chancellor, Tamil Gilkerson. Dr. Gilkerson comes to the district's top job with a well-established record of deep commitment to public higher education, to students, to social justice, and importantly, to serving the diverse communities of the East Bay. And especially notable from the DAS perspective is Dr. Gilkerson's interest and proficiency in planning and collaborative planning in particular. And this was a point that she stressed in her public forum presentation, you'll recall. The board has heard DAS call for improving our shared governance processes and structure again and again. With Dr. Gilkerson in the big office, DAS is hopeful that the management faculty partnership will be especially strong and productive. I'm hopeful that Peralta will at last sort out and ratify the planning and budgeting integration model that you've heard me and other DAS folks go on about for some time. I would say too that this is an excellent opportunity to continue the work that Dr. Jackson, I know, was really adamant should be done by the new chancellor. So part of our slow transition to doing this work was deliberate in that there was confidence from the top levels of the administration that once a new chancellor was in place, that new chancellor would lead the way in forming this collaborative work group that would revisit the PBIM. So again, I'm sanguine about those prospects in the near future. I'd like to thank the work of the faculty who participated on the Chancellor Selection Committee, Mary Clark Miller, Francis Howard, past DAS President Donald Moore, and PFT President Jeff Sinceri. I know what a tough job it is. I've been on the Chancellor Hiring Committee a couple of times and it's real work. So thanks to those faculty members. I'd also like to thank the president of the board, Deanna Delphine Polk, and the board consultant, Helen Benjamin, who were responsive when faculty raised concerns about the process and were willing to make some compromises that I think improved the process and made it more accessible to the public, which, as you heard me and others say, was a really important consideration. So again, thanks to Dr. Benjamin and President Delphine Polk. DAS will continue to advocate for changes to the hiring process. You've heard me go on at some length about that, and we'll continue to lobby, but know that when faculty meets with kind of earnest interest and commitment to listening and engaging, faculty find solid ground for optimism. So again, thanks. Tomorrow, the district's 5 Senate presidents will head to Orange County for the fall plenary meeting of the Academic Senate for California Community Colleges, or the ASCCC. A few of our senators will also participate in the online Zoom version. In addition to taking up a rather thick packet of resolutions, faculty will attend sessions on a variety of community college related issues that are really important to the work we do here at the district and the colleges. A couple of the sessions that you can look forward to reports on involve things like recent changes to accreditation, of course, legislative shifts, 928 and 1111 are big ones that I'm sure you've heard mentioned before, and a variety of other 10+1 issues that those of us who are attending the plenary hope to become even more expert in, and I'll offer a detailed report at your December meeting. Finally, I wanted to let folks know that the DAS will take up a resolution at its next meeting to call for more FTEF at the colleges. As you know, there's a draft proposal circulating at the colleges. Chairs have been surveyed recently about how they feel the FTEF allotment has worked out for them, and you'll be unsurprised to hear that there's general consensus that there's student demand and more need for FTEF at the college level, both to meet the current demand, but also to build toward a future that suggests higher enrollment rather than, as people are wont to say, creating a death spiral. So look for that resolution in the weeks to come. Also coming up at our next DAS meeting will be a formal consideration of adjustments to the budget planning calendar. We're looking at, per a suggestion brought to us by Ms. Tashetta Henry from the Chancellor's office, simply making the participatory governance meeting calendar square with the budget planning calendar. So putting those two pieces into alignment and making sure there's plenty of time for consideration and review as the budget planning process moves forward. Let me say that DAS looks forward to hammering out a better process, one that's more democratic, more organized, and frankly, more intelligible to those of us who are part of that process. So I'll look forward to presenting that to the board in the not too distant future. Thanks very much and have a good meeting.
Thank you, President Goldstein. Let's go ahead and move to 3.11, public communication on matters that are not on the agenda. So if you've submitted a speaker card, please step forward now.
First, we have Lawrence Van Hook.
Madam President, to the board, President, and to Dr. Jackson, congratulations on a tenure, well-deserved and well-recognized. I want to say congratulations to so many people that's just been stated, but to our Chancellor-elect and to the committees from the ground level all the way to the boards. Hard work in making sure that the selection fit the community of Peralta. So congratulations to you. And we are changing the chapter. This time, hopefully, we can definitely all get on one accord and move progressively to the health and wellness of securing our future of our students and moving forward with the kind of excitement that Peralta can actually accomplish, and that is to do well in our community and empower the students, and to make sure that we have camaraderie amongst our faculty, staff, and administrators. And so I'm hoping that we can make sure that that is accomplished. I also rise to say that Dr. Jackson has done such an awesome job, and stand as the PAW president, Peralta Association of African American Affairs, to say to you that the announcement has gone out, and we are in stewardship of the Hail and Farewell Gala that will be on December the 15th at Merritt College. And we want to make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to come. We have limited space, and this hopefully to be one of many. And so let me just tell you the reason why this is so very important. I wanted to make it a surprise to her, but it's a little bit bigger than me and a little bit bigger than us. So the committee wants to do a scholarship for veterans for the district wide of our students. The funds that we raise will be for the first one, but we are now looking for partners so that this can be one of the biggest scholarship funds. Again, congratulations to our veterans on your service, but we want to make sure that even though it will be in stewardship of Paul through the foundation, we want it to be one of the greatest scholarships in the name of Dr. Jeanette Jackson for veteran students coming forward. And so we're looking for partners, we're looking for people so that we can endow a scholarship that our veterans can go to and continue to get the accomplishment of education and whatever else that they need. And so we wanted to make it a surprise, but it's a little bit bigger than what it actually in details. And so if you haven't gotten your tickets, the flyer or the information that's gone out, Mark, if you can send it out again. We have sponsorship levels and we have limited space. But we want you to bring your after six attire, some dancing shoes. The chancellor says she wants to dance and dance the night away. And so we will have a great time with refreshments of all kind and some food that will help us to celebrate this evening. And so I just want to say again, thank you to Dr. Jackson and thank you to the presidents and the staff. The presidents have already committed to help us to make sure that this evening will be one that is fulfilled. And we've already gotten people from the outside and the inside that will help make the difference. So let me just say thank you in advance and congratulations to our new chancellor. And thank you all for allowing this to be a great day.
Dr. Van Hook, what was that date again?
December 15th.
Thank you.
And I understand, Mark, you're going to be sending something out to remind us. Okay, thank you. Let's proceed with our next speaker. Thank you.
Next, we have Levi Williams. And just a friendly reminder, we do have 3 minutes per speaker, and I have 15 public comments ahead of us. So,
hello all. Thank you very much for the time. My name is Levi Williams. I work at the Laney College Fab Lab, and I'm here tonight to speak to the value of the Fab Labs at both Laney and College of Alameda. I believe it's been since the 2018 resolution of support, since the Fab Labs were discussed here, so it's probably time for an update. The Peralta Fab Labs are unique learning resource centers. We provide a safe and supervised environment for students to gain hands-on training in emerging digital fabrication techniques, such as computer-aided machining, CNC milling, laser cutting, water jet cutting, and 3D printing. These skills are in very high demand in both established and novel industries, from 3D printing houses to industrial fabrication and fashion design. The presence of the Fab Labs allows departments at Laney and COA to meet the emerging needs of their respective industries. With our support, faculty can incorporate modern manufacturing processes into their curriculum without requiring each department to individually support specialized machinery and staff. Since we began collecting data at Laney in 2017, we have served over 1,400 students across 11 departments and logged over 11,000 student hours in our shop. At College of Alameda, the Fab Lab has served over 7,700 students across 16 departments. The truly special thing here is that the Fab Labs are the Peralta Fab Labs are the only publicly accessible resource in the greater Bay Area that provides this training. Any community member is just a class away from life-changing skills training on par with what is available to only a select few UC Berkeley students. I can't emphasize this enough. Peralta has 2 cutting-edge learning resource centers that provide the most up-to-date digital fabrication training, normally only found on the job or cloistered away in well-financed four-year universities. To be blunt, our problem is funding. Over the 8 years since their inception, the Fab Labs have run almost entirely off of grant funding. This model has proven unsustainable in the long run, and the future of these amazing resources is in jeopardy. As the district moves through its financial troubles, I hope the board will keep in mind the value the Fab Labs provide Peralta and their need for sustainable funding moving forward. Thank you very much for your time.
Next, we have Sybil Yang.
Hi, my name is Sybil Yang, and I am an associate professor at San Francisco State University and the faculty director of innovation and entrepreneurship for the College of Business at San Francisco State. I'm here speaking on behalf of the Peralta Community College's Fab Labs as well. I recently came to become a student at Laney College and have been very surprised and delightfully so at the resources that are available at the Fab Lab. I'm frankly a little jealous of them, and they are resources that we're trying to build at San Francisco State because we see it as a need for our students, not only in the STEM programs, but also within the College of Business as well. The ability to prototype, to test out, experiment, and to collaborate with others in facilities like this is absolutely key. And to have this so locally within Laney is truly a sustainable competitive advantage that you guys can choose to fund in the long run. When we talk about accessibility of resources and equality for our students, we talk about students who are not able to buy a $100 printer, let alone have access to a $200 3D printer or $1,000 LaserJet CNC milling machine. But these are the technologies and the tools of the future that our students all need. If we're talking about accessibility and the ability to put forth social justice in our education system, providing continued access along with good supervision and instruction with these tools is absolutely key to bringing in and servicing the next generation of students. Thank you very much.
Next, we have Daryl Brown.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else in the room. My name is Daryl Brown. I'm a student here just across the street at Laney, and I'm here to speak upon the Fab Lab or fabrication labs here in Peralta District. I basically see great value in investing in the Fab Labs, not only for CTE, but also for students, staff, and faculty. This is a unique piece which can become, a puzzle piece that can fit any problem. As you've heard, not only can it bridge the gap between students, I myself use it to help me actually get jobs, but also enter schools, because now I have the ability to take the theories I learned in class and actually test them out rather than waiting years after I've graduated school and then test the theory, or wait until I get an internship later on. This not only helps me become more competitive as a student, but also as an employer, or to my employers as an employee. It's actually changed my life. I initially came to Peralta attracted to your football. We always try to advocate for having businesses come to the school, businesses come to the city. What better way to have that pipeline and use it as a marketing, not only for us here on the higher education level, but also reaching down to the lower levels of K through 12. And again, now you don't have to get into Cal to use their state-of-the-art technology. Trust me, I tried to sneak into Cal's Fab Lab, their engineering school. Did not work. But if I could go to Laney, which is in my hometown, and the semester is free and there's free food, now it's like, oh wow, nothing's stopping me but myself. That being said, one thing you'll find is and throughout the district is problem solvers. And I think investing in the Fab Labs is a part of the solution. Thank you and have a great evening.
Next, we have Raleigh McLemore.
Good evening, everybody. I'm here to support the Fab Labs as well. I'm a student with continuing learning problems. I just can't help but keep learning. And so a long time ago, a few years ago, I wanted to learn how to use machine tools, and I came here to learn how to make things like this. And I'm still shocked that it works. In doing so, I ran into the Fab Lab. I didn't know the Fab Lab was here at Laney, and we made a simple box. And from that, it opened up a whole nother part of my experience. I'm a retired science teacher in Oakland, and I have 6 grandkids, and they've all benefited from what I learned at the Fab Lab. The other people have spoken more clearly and were better than I could about the brass tacks of why the Fab Lab needs to stay open. I think I want to reemphasize what people have said twice or many times already. The Laney itself and Peralta, it's a resource. It's not just a college. It's a place where it's a refuge. I mean, I was a welder before I became a teacher. I didn't go to college till I came here, and Laney led me through that. And Laney has lots of resources and great teaching and great places where we can learn. The Fab Lab is literally cutting edge. When I was teaching science, everything that's happening in the Fab Lab is relevant to what we're teaching now in STEM and in science. And if you feel like the Fab Lab isn't meeting your expectations, maybe it needs more support, and maybe we need to get it out even more widely. And so I don't think we should look defensively at the Fab Lab. It's a brilliant place. A decision to close or a decision not to support fully the Fab Lab is like what I've seen in Oakland many times, where, like counselors, where there's a death of 1,000 cuts, and first there were 6, and then there were 5, and then there were 4. Somewhere in the reduction, it stops working. It's qualitative, not quantitative. And the Fab Lab represents a possibility. If I wanted to continue to do what the Fab Lab offers me now in both places, College of Alameda and here, I would pay thousands of dollars at Ace Monster Toy, which is a wonderful place. I'm not against that. This is a resource for Oaklanders, and especially Oaklanders who don't have access. So whatever you do, don't restrict access to something that's so vital in terms of what we're teaching in K-12. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Well, I wanted to show you. I showed you this little box, but it opened up a whole nother thing. You got to see my grandson's microscope case, which I made at the Fab Lab. So thank you for allowing the Fab Lab to be what it is.
Next, we have Thomas Fowler.
evening. I'm Thomas Fowler. I'm a student at Laney. I've been there for 3 semesters now. I chose out Laney because I am a disabled healthcare worker, and I am trying to get another career choice in front of me, and I've been going to school to try to find what is tolerable. And the Fab Lab has helped me out quite a bit. I just want to kind of go through a little, just use imagination. I need to use the CNC machine, which could, you know, it's going to cost thousands of dollars if I break it. And it's already taken me an hour and a half to take the initial class with Levy, you know, and at another time. But you need to use the shop tools. You need to use the plasma cutter. You need to use the vinyl cutter. You need to use the embroidery machine. You know, you're gonna need more help with a file. You're gonna not even know where to begin with your graphic arts class assignment with, you know, like right now I'm missing it. My introduction class to Adobe Illustrator, which is a very important class to learn how to build architecture in a 2D space. What that means is just drawing in the computer that allows me to make anything I want in real life. And, you know, I had a sense of hope coming into Laney, but seeing how much we need 2 people full-time to help all these students learn all these skills, because they're in all these different departments. And I would like to pursue 3 degrees through Laney, but 1 certificate, and I would like to transfer to a 4-year. And, you know, to learn the schools that I need to be at a 4-year, I need, you know, a little bit of guidance, a lot of safety, and you know, a place that I can go and I can depend on. This semester, it's been less funding, less support. My classes have suffered because I haven't been able to really do the things that I came here for. And it's been so disheartening that I'm like, do I need to pay? Do I need to go somewhere else for these dreams? And that's not fair to the students, because I would really like to see this be what the potential it has. And I would love for y'all to come pay us a visit.
10 seconds.
Thank you.
Next, we have Mike Loring.
Good evening, all. My name's Mike Loring. I'm an adult student at the College of Alameda, and I've been using the Fab Lab for about 6 years now. Prior to my retirement, I was a systems engineer at Apple Computer for 15 years. And then I was the director of technology at the St. Joseph's Notre Dame High School, also for 15 years. In both places, I learned a lot about design and designers. At Apple, I saw the design process go from concept to fabrication of incredible products, some of which you probably still use today. They showed the power of design, fabrication, testing, and retesting until you get a final product that you're satisfied with. At the high school, I developed a nascent maker space, small little corner of the library, where students started to work with tools and mechanics and electronics. By the time I left, and just after I left, they were manufacturing personal protection equipment for the COVID outbreak when those supplies were in short supply. It's an incredible experience. In my post-technology life from Apple and from the school, I became a chocolate maker. So now I've used the Fab Lab to develop molds, packaging, parts for my manufacturing equipment, and props for the props that I use when I'm doing chocolate making classes. I've also made a lot of mechanical toys for my grandchildren and some adaptive exercise equipment for myself. But to me, the lab is a lot more than a shop. It's a place where I see students thinking, designing, testing, and refining, making things that they can hold and touch. It moves them from their virtual world, from their phones and their computers, into a more realistic 3D world. That leap is one that many of them haven't had a chance to take. I think it's important that we start developing the next generation of designers, thinkers, and builders. And I think that the Fab Lab is something that deserves our continued investment. I urge you all to continue supporting this great opportunity. Thanks a lot.
Next, we have Amy Benjamin.
So I am a student at Laney College, and I'm here to also speak on behalf of the Fab Lab. One of the two words that come to mind when I think of the Fab Lab are digital literacy. I chose to come to Laney College to enhance my bachelor's degree that I have in interior design from San Jose State University. And one of the reasons that I decided to come to Laney was because of the digital fabrication classes that were made available. And then I ended up staying because of access to the tools that I have in the Fab Lab. I continue to take classes in theater, designing sets. I've done some sculpture classes, and I've used the Fab Lab in everything that I've done. Right now I have new skills on my resume that I can put forth to design, I don't know, sorry, I'm a little bit nervous, but design firms across the Bay Area, and it gives me the chance to make more money than I would have otherwise. The Fab Labs are key components to innovative learning, and many manufacturing jobs that we have in the Bay Area right now are clamoring in the current job market for people who possess the skills that people can learn in the Fab Lab. Making this technology available to all students is an amazing resource provided by Laney College and the College of Alameda. And it's what sets our schools apart from other institutions, and one of the reasons our graduates are sought after across the Bay Area. The Fab Lab and its staff are currently only funded by grant money. We're asking that the Fab Lab is prioritized in budgeting to ensure the consistent and reliable funding to continue the availability of this resource. That means staffing the Fab Lab with at least 2 full-time positions and providing money for supplies and machine maintenance. By building this into the budget, you'll be able to uphold the reputation of that Peralta has amongst Bay Area employees as a go-to spot for recruiting incredible talent. That's all I've got. So thank you very much for your time.
Next, we have Joseph Liu.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. My name is Joseph Liu. I'm an advanced manufacturing teacher at Brentwood High School, and I'm on the District Secondary Curriculum Council for Hayward Unified School District for Industrial Technology. My experience with the Fab Labs at Peralta started in 2016, and I just have one word to describe it as transformational. I think the utility of the machines is obvious, but really the skills that I learned were collaborative. And I just found the ability to think of an idea and create it in the same day as incredibly empowering. I thought it was unbelievable. And because of that, I was on a path towards engineering, but I became a student technician at the Fab Lab. And I found myself in education, and that's where I've been for the past 4 years. So I see the impact that my class has on my students every day as a safe space for creativity and expression. And I think those are the values that I've really taken from the Peralta Fab Labs. And, there were so many aspects that I don't have enough time to talk about that I loved about the Fab Labs. But one of them was the ability to produce something out of nothing. And that for me was business and making money. I found the ability to experiment with so many different types of businesses, and I encourage my students to do the same thing. Because of that, I really believe that the Peralta Fab Labs are an invaluable resource to the entire community, not only for its ability to develop these skills, but also the soft skills, and again, providing a safe space for students to discover themselves and really be imaginative and let their dreams soar. So I think that continued funding is essential, especially with the staff. The staff are a huge reason why I had such a good experience at the Fab Lab. They're so welcoming. And like I mentioned, I was on a path for engineering at UC Irvine, but even at these UCs, I didn't have the same experience that I did at the Peralta level because of the staff. The staff really made a huge difference, being so welcoming and accommodating. So yeah, thank you for your time.
Next, we have Alejandra Acosta.
Hi, board. Thank you for your time. I'm here to speak about the Fab Lab situation as well. I'm a steward for SEIU 1021, and I work at Laney College in the Theater Arts Department. So the Fab Lab are located in the theater. They're my neighbors. They've been there as long as I have. I started in 2016 about. And I guess I just wanted to provide a little bit of context as it relates to the Fab Lab program review and shared governance processes at Laney. I was classified Senate president from 2020 to 2022. And during that time, I was part of an effort led by the guys at the Fab Lab really to get the Fab Lab into program review. So they were submitting their own program review every year so that they could make resource requests. Up until this point, the Fab Lab has been almost completely strong workforce development funded, and those positions are paid for through ICC. So they're classified as contractors. So there was kind of dual efforts to get that program review in so we could make a resource request. That those two positions be funded. Simultaneously, we had to go through the union and get those positions created, right? So the positions have been created now. The resource requests were submitted to the Classified Prioritization Committee, a committee I was a member of. We prioritized those requests and recommended that those positions be created to the office of the president. That recommendation was taken. The issue, as we understand it, is that there's not available funding. And we do understand, the current budget challenges, financial challenges that the district is under, right? And so I guess my thinking around the purpose of tonight is really just to reintroduce the Fab Lab to all of you and hopefully create allies of you, because I think what we're going to need to do is, I hate the term, but think a little bit outside of the box when it comes how do we fund these for the next few years while these budget challenges persist. Because I think one of the most difficult things that we do at the college is try to respond to need in the community, to need in industry, and the Fab Lab is 100% a response to that need. And so we've just been struggling about how to keep it going, and we need help. Thank you.
Next, we have Sonal.
Hello, my name's Sonal. I am a student at Laney in the Wood Tech program currently. I did my undergrad at Carnegie Mellon and studied design there, and have been working as a freelancer for the past 10 years or so. And doing the Wood Tech program at Laney was mostly because I wanted to further my design skills and other aspects, and also work more in the tangible side of design as well. And the program has been great on a personal level in just helping build a lot of confidence. But with the wood shop, we are a little bit stretched thin just with student to instructor ratio and also student to equipment ratio. And so having the Fab Lab as a resource is so great to be able to complete our projects and also explore any other curiosities that we have that cannot be met by just the wood shop that we have. And personally, having that space has been so impactful to me just because it sparked a lot of curiosity in new aspects of design that I want to explore, just being able to go in and see other projects that people are working on, and also just having that safe space for anyone to go and explore any ideas they have, and being having Levi and other people really give you very helpful instruction. And yeah, I think it is such an integral part of the community at Laney, and also in thinking about coming back as a student for the second semester, it played a big role in my decision to do that. So thank you for listening.
Next, we have Lucy M.
Hello, board. My name is Lucy Morgan, and I'm a student at the Laney College. I'm submitting a comment today to draw your attention to the Fab Lab, of course, like everyone else. And I think that it is incredibly impactful for our community. I have been given the opportunity to create gifts for my family and friends that I would have no capabilities otherwise. My sister graduated from law school a few years ago, and I made her a plaque of glass, and I was able to etch with the laser machine the handwritten messages of love and support from all of our families, including our grandfather, who's no longer with us. And this irreplaceable gift would have been impossible without the Fab Lab. Now that I have moved on from Laney somewhat, I work at the Crucible, an art school in West Oakland. And while we have a lot of industrial support there, we don't have everything. And when a student has an idea that I support, I send them to the Fab Lab. I tell them this is a wonderful resource for you that can just help you do so much. I cannot stress the importance of this resource. It has done so much for me and for so many others, and I really hope that you can come around and support the funding that we need to keep this going. Thank you.
Next, we have Daryl B.
Sasha, I believe that person has already spoken.
Oh, next we have Seth Marvin. Thank you.
How's everybody doing tonight? All right, need a stretch break? You guys have been sitting a long time, right? All right, if we had to take a vote right now, who supports the Fab Lab? All right, we still got work to do. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and see if you'd all raised your hands, I wouldn't have to, but that's okay. I'm using for notes here a piece of scrap from the Fab Lab that I use to fabricate designs for a personal logo and a business logo. So I'm a woodworker, I'm an independent artist. I've attended 50,000 person large public universities. I've attended 5,000 person private universities. I've worked at some of the large tech companies in the Valley, and I've also worked for AmeriCorps and national service programs. In none of those other settings have I ever had any resource like the Fab Lab. So just to put it out there, if you remember nothing else from what I say, please fund the Fab Lab. I've got an acronym here. So for each of the letters in the words Fab Lab, I have a word that means something to me. So for F is future oriented. It's directly related to job skills, artistic expression, activism, can do all those things in the Fab Lab. A for amazingly supportive staff. Also an amazingly supportive community of fellow students, and some of my favorite people at Laney are right here in this room because they're connected to the Fab Lab. B for big selection of tools and machines and inspiration, lots of things. L for lucky, I feel fortunate to be able to work on ideas, take ideas from through the mistake phases all the way through to successful completion. So you can see both successful completion and mistakes here. There's holes where I burned through, but it's a safe place to do that kind of thing where you can make mistakes. I'm appreciative of all the time and energy and resources that have already gone into the Fab Lab from before the time I was a student. I've been here for 3 semesters, and hopefully it will continue for long after I'm gone. So B is for the big ask, fund it, and if you've never been, please come visit. Thanks.
Next, we have Mo Kashmiri.
Hello, everybody. I'm Mo Kashmiri. I'm actually the field rep with SEIU Local 1021. I'm going to take it in a little bit different direction. Again, just a little bit about me. My parents are Pakistani immigrants, and the reason I do the job I do is because when my parents were growing up, when I was growing up, I remember the day my dad got laid off from his job. I remember the day he came home and punched a hole in the wall and just sank down crying out of frustration. And I remember hiding behind the couch as a kid with my brother and watching that and thinking, you know what, every family should have the right to a good paying job and, and to be able to live with dignity. And so I'm blessed that I get to work with working families to help, build jobs that can let people live with dignity. The good news is I do support, of course, everything they're saying about the Fab Lab. These are a lot of words. I highly recommend you go check out the Fab Lab. It is really cool. I feel like all these words don't do it justice. And, before you vote on it, I'd highly recommend taking a quick tour and just taking a look at it. I think it'll blow your mind. It definitely blew mine. We're grateful to have a new chancellor. And I also want to say we've been working with Dr. Ronald McKinley at HR, and he has been doing a great job as Vice Chancellor of Human Resources. We think he's really been helpful and has brought a lot to the job. So we appreciate you bringing him in as well. We are still bargaining in negotiations for the classified staff, and we have 2 contracts, one for the permanent employees and another for the temporary hourly employees. We asked to combine the 2, but management refused to agree to that. And we're near the end on the permanent contract. The only thing that's holding us up is we need your help as a board pressing management to give us the information that we need. One of the issues, there is a contract article that we agreed to in the last contract about how healthcare overages were to be handled. And we still haven't gotten the information that we need to resolve that issue. And again, this is a dispute from the last contract that we still haven't solved. And it's been, I think, 3 years. And so we need the information so we can kind of get that to a landing space. And we're still negotiating on the temporary contract for the hourly employees. They're really, they're just abused. They end up getting paid less for the same work. And they don't even get any health care, or they don't get retirement benefits or generally health care either. And so it's just insulting that the cost of living here is really high, and it makes it really hard for folks to take these jobs and to help us get our positions filled. Plus, we're also having an issue where the temporary employees are not getting paid, they're not getting paid healthcare as per what the ACA says they're supposed to. Under the Affordable Care Act, if they've worked 90 days, they're supposed to have access to healthcare, but that hasn't been happening in a consistent manner. Some hourly employees are getting it, and then others who should qualify are not getting it. We brought that to the attention of management, and we're hoping we can get your help resolving those issues. Again, all we want to do is make sure that our folks get paid enough and have the good enough wages and working conditions that we can continue to recruit and retain the best staff so we can keep this community college working and provide opportunity to those that don't have it. Thank you.
Next, we have Alana Pecos.
Hi, good evening. My name is Alana Pechon. I've been a student at Laney this is my 2nd whole semester. I'm very excited to be here. And I am a 21-year Navy veteran. I am just about to retire, and I've been looking for what's going to be my next career. Laney was an excellent place for me to come and explore some options, learn some new skills, figure out what's going to be the next thing for me. And I had no idea of the kind of resources that we had available to us here. The Fab Lab just absolutely knocked my socks off the first time I got to go in there and tour it. I would like to reiterate what a couple of the previous commenters have said and invite you, please come down if you haven't been there, take a look, take a class with Levy. He gives really great instruction and has lots of workshops to teach you to use the equipment. Even if you don't want to build anything, take a class, learn something new for half an hour and find out some of the possibilities that are out there. And I'm actually here not so much to plead on my own behalf to continue to fund the Fab Lab, but for my daughters who are 5 and 10 and not quite ready to enroll. But, you know, my 10-year-old, she likes to solder things, tinker on things. She builds radios. And I think about like when she's a little older, where is she going to get to explore those options? She's in an elementary school here in Oakland that, while they do the best they can, they are not that well resourced, and the teachers are excellent, but they're not able to offer anything like the kinds of learning opportunities that the Fab Lab can offer. And I can't wait for her to be old enough to come here and check it out too. That's pretty much all I got to say. I think the Fab Lab is the right side of history to be on. In 20 years, I don't think anybody wants to look back and say, man, remember when we had that amazing thing that prepared people for the future in skills that can be really useful, bridging the gap between technical skills and manual skills and engineering skills and creative skills, and then we closed it? I don't think that's the side of history we want to be on. So that's all I've got to say. Thank you for your time.
The last comment for the evening will be from Jeff.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm glad I don't even need a last name. Everybody says Jeff, and all of a sudden I'm here. I want to thank everybody for, giving me this opportunity tonight. And I want to start by saying, like, as we usher in a new chancellor, I want to say thank you to the work that the board has done to help usher in this new moment. I think our challenges remain, but I look forward to facing them together. And in the meantime, I'd like to restate my offer to meet and discuss issues, if for no other reason than a different perspective. There are other reasons too, of course, but perspective should be plenty right now, I think. And I'd also ask our new chancellor and maybe a couple of board members to come with me and schedule a tour of the campuses, take a look at what's going on there at all the campuses, maybe see whether there are connections between all the hard work you guys do in here with the way things are seen out there by both our students and our faculty and our staff. And I think doing that is a lot of common ground for us to stand on, I think, for a start. So I want to thank you for your time, and welcome to the new chancellor, and have a good night. Solidarity.
That is all the public comments we have for this evening.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's go ahead and move to 3.12, Chancellor's reports. Chancellor Jackson.
Good evening, President Delphine Polk, Board of Trustees, colleagues, community. This evening, we have someone who's stepping in for Merritt College, our interim Vice President of Instruction, Lisa Cook. So I will start with Ms. Cook, and then we will go on to Laney College, then Berkeley City College, and last but not least, College of Alameda with Dr. Bayrami. So I'll turn it over to you, Lisa.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, and administrators, faculty, staff, and community members. I'm Lisa Cook. I'm the interim Vice President of Instruction at Merritt College. And I'm here tonight to give you a report on behalf of President Johnson. I'm going to bring some of the events that are highlighted in our report to life. One is that we had a team from Merritt attend the California Community Colleges Association for Occupational Education conference. That conference is focused on shaping career education throughout California. And our group attended and learned a lot. And most exciting, I think, is that we are leveraging our strong workforce funds to build out our career education pathways. And one example of that is that you may be aware of is that Merritt College currently has an EMT program, but we're going to build out our emergency medical services pathway to include paramedics. So there's a group, a dedicated team working on that at Merritt, and we're really excited about that. There were 2 events at Merritt College. One was for Halloween. We had a lovely, the lovely parade where the kids come from the child center, and also we had a celebration for Dia de los Muertos, including a really beautiful altar. If you go to Merritt in the student center, there's an altar and lots of offerings to recognize the lives of those that have gone on before us, including esteemed faculty members and staff and students at Merritt College. And we have an event coming up this Thursday, the Giving Thanks Classified Appreciation event. So the administrators are cooking, and I won't say more, but we're cooking. And so it's going to be a lot of fun. And the last item that I'll share is in our effort to build dual enrollment, we're taking a little different approach to empower the parents of our high school scholars. And to this end, Dean Rashima Thornton, our Dean of Enrollment Services, and President Johnson will be joining in a potluck meeting for parents at McClymonds High School. It's called the Empowerment Hour for MAC Parents. And the idea is to support parents in thinking about returning to college, hopefully Merritt College, to obtain their AA degrees. So that will be taking place this Thursday evening, and we're hoping that that will be just one of many of our outreach efforts to increase the partnership with high schools, but to take this approach that we're not just serving our high school scholars, but also building connections with their families. Thank you.
Good evening, Chancellor Jackson, Board President Delphine Polk, members of the governing board, colleagues in education, and of course, our valued students and community members. I have a couple updates tonight, as well as a couple of partnerships that I'd like to talk about. The first update is I wanted to follow up with the board about an item that was brought at the last board meeting. The college has purchased just in terms of helping people get around our campus, the college has purchased, acquired, and put into action a 6-passenger golf cart, an additional one for the campus. And at present, we are training and certifying people. And as a former person who was forklift certified, I can appreciate that, individuals to drive the cart. And I want to really extend thanks to colleagues in our business and administrative services office for being so responsive to this, because we certainly want to serve our students, community, and visitors to campus. The second thing I'd like to go ahead and share as an update is that, certainly with the holidays coming up, we've got some great partners, and we're actually having 2 holiday meal distributions take place. And I'd like to send just a special word of thanks to the Alameda County Food Bank, as well as Oakland Rotary number 3. The first of these will be in our student services food pantry that everyone's been working so hard on. And as part of the regular distribution, actually, the food bank, Alameda County Food Bank, has come forward to provide 600 whole chickens for the holidays. They are going to be distributed this week on Wednesday and Thursday, as well as with canned cranberry sauce, corn, stuffing, and mashed potatoes. And then these will also be going out next week on Wednesday as well. So that's great thanks to that partner. And then with the Oakland Rotary, if you are a member of our learning communities at Laney College, there will be a delivery of 100 turkeys with a lot of the sides that I just mentioned. So students in CalWorks Athletics, our Mojo Baca program, Restoring Our Communities, our veterans, also students being served by our Basic Needs Center, as well as our Latinx Center, will all have turkey dinners available to them for the holidays. Something that's wonderful. And again, thank you to Oakland Rotary number 3, as well as the Alameda County Food Bank. My last two items tonight are highlighting partners that we've had. And last week on the 8th of November on Wednesday night, Professor Sapo Su, Dean Alejandra Tomas, and others really worked hard to put together a night of engagement with Johnson Controls International. And just a lot of the details are in your board report, but really what I wanted to bring out is, in addition to a lot of the inside look perspective that came from our speakers, from this partnerships, we're going to be having scholarships for students, mentorship opportunities to come, assistance to the college with career education outreach, as well as support with curriculum development that will really be cutting edge and current moving forward. And I'd like to send special thanks to the team at JCI, specifically the senior account manager, Tony Sclafani, who's been really just a great friend to Laney College. And I wanted to highlight that. And then finally, one thing that is not in the written board report, but that I gave you as a handout this evening, is a fantastic event that took place also last week. I provided you with a flyer and an executive summary of the event. Laney College and Oakland Unified School District came together and had a Laney Day for OUSD students, and we had about 190 well, I can't say OUSD students, because at the end of the day, they all completed CCC Apply and submitted applications to become Laney College students, both as fully matriculated and then through our dual enrollment programs. And just a lot of people in our outreach. I want to send special thanks to Kim Gonzalez and Raya Zion, but also to our Dean of Career Education, Alejandra Tomas. She's done an incredible job working with our Vice President of Instruction, really to ensure that outreach and a lot of the work we're doing to fund career education programs continues. And this funding does include our Fab Labs. And our intent is to keep them moving forward and identifying and maintaining those resources. And with that, I'll conclude my report this evening.
Good evening, Chancellor Jackson, Board President Delphine Polk, trustees, colleagues, students, and members of the community. Berkeley City College requests that the Board of Trustees consider approval of the following three agenda items. Agenda item number 1, an independent contractor service contract with Partners in Communication, LLC, for interpreting accommodations of Berkeley City College faculty in the amount of $2,500. The American Disabilities Act requires accommodations and communication access for deaf faculty members. American Sign Language interpretation is used to support full participation in college and district-related activities. ASL interpretation is necessary for deaf and hearing employees at BCC to fully communicate with each other and participate in events, meetings, trainings, classes, and other forums within Berkeley City College. This is also a critical resource for fulfilling our college commitment to equity. Item number 3, ratification of a MOU memorializing sub-grant to Girls Inc. of Alameda County in the amount of $621,531. This sub-award to Girls Inc. is part of the partnership to create new and innovative apprenticeship opportunities to provide learning support systems for youth from under-resourced communities and to promote career advancement. This support for career education for low-income and historically marginalized students aligns with BCC's goal of achieving equitable student completion. It will also address 2 challenges. Number 1, the shortage of expanded learning professionals. Number 2, economic mobility for under-resourced communities. Item number 3, the High Roads Training Partnership Grants Subaward Agreement between East Bay Innovations and Berkeley City College. This grant in the amount of $134,064 will advance the BCC Social Work and Human Resources Department's curriculum and promote successful employment opportunities for community health workers. This partnership will support the success of students by aligning the HUSV curriculum and industry demands, identifying barriers for various student populations, and supporting students with lived experiences in their transitions from college to workforce using internships and apprenticeship paths. This grant will also address the following challenges: the shortage of community health workers in California and economic mobility for under-resourced communities. On Wednesday, I'd like to now transition to things happening on campus. On Wednesday, November 8th, Berkeley City College hosted Earn and Learn's apprenticeship and internship fair. Over 300 students from 11 high schools met with 20 employers in the BCC atrium. Big thank you to our enrollment coordinator, Gail Pendleton, and her team for making this event so successful. BCC also hosted an art show, truly fabulous art show on last Friday evening entitled Hues Are You. And I'd like to thank our dedicated art faculty and talented students for providing such a first-class showing. This concludes my report for Berkeley City College.
Good evening, President Delphine Polk, Vice President Quinlan, trustee members, Chancellor Jackson, colleagues, student journalists. I'll try to keep my report succinct today. I'd like to highlight one of the reports in front of you, and then two new events that took place at College of Alameda. During the week of October 16, October 20, the College of Alameda celebrated in the beautiful H building or NCLA building, the Undocumented Students Success Program Cafe. So we had several events, but two of the events I would like to highlight is one workshop on identities led by Dean Rodriguez and Dean Ochoa, a book reading with Oakland poet Daisy Carrillo Lopez. Both activities talk about intersectionality of our identities and the challenges of undocumented students in the state of California. And unfortunately, these challenges continue to exist. But the events, despite the challenges and sharing of stories, the events were uplifting because I focused on art, identity, community support, and inspiration for each other. I would like to recognize the work of the students and also the coordinator, Juan Lopez, for coordinating some great events. On Tuesday, November 7, Professors John Taylor and Jane Smithson, Director Bradshaw, Deans Jennings and Dean Duke and myself took a little visit to Celdrone. So this is a company right next to us. This was our first in-person meeting, and the second meeting with Celdrone. We're trying to see how can we collaborate in building a common curriculum and workforce for Celdrone. It was a really beautiful facility, so seeing all the different drones out there and see how young the workforce was and such a need for creating this curriculum to support local businesses. And on Friday, during the Veterans Day, a College of Alameda team partnered with Alameda Chamber. We had a table to be participating in the Silver Oak anniversary of USS Hornet, 25 years of USS Hornet, and also 80 years since its commissioning in 1943. It was a beautiful event. Trustee Withrow joined us. Chancellor Jackson unfortunately had a little accident, couldn't not join us, but among us also VPSS Lewis, Dean Jennings, and we had a student veteran, a student leader, Mr. Clemas Tervalone and his wife. It was a really beautiful evening and a beautiful event. And the last event, and I skip it and I don't know how, but we had the mayor back at College of Alameda. So it was her second visit last Wednesday. And the mayor also with the city manager and also the leadership of Asian Health Clinic, meeting with the dental assisting program to see how can we support the needs of the Asian Health Clinic and create, formalize some partnership when our dental assisting students find employment. And as you probably know, this clinic is offering 20 hours of service right in a dental assisting offices. So our idea is how do we extend that partnership and how do we look into the future to see how we can utilize the space. And this concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Presidents. Appreciate it. For the essence of time, I'll turn it back over to President Delphine Polk. So we will give an update later on what's happening in the district and facilities.
Thank you. And then we'll move now to 4.1, our presentations. So I believe IVC Smith, you're up next. Thank you.
Sasha, can you bring up the presentation? Great. Thank you so much, Sasha. Good evening, Dr. Jackson, and good evening, Board of Trustees, President Polk, Vice President Quinlan, colleagues, and Peralta community. I am here tonight to give you a update on the 90-day projects, maintenance and operation, and physical plant instruction funding from the state. Next. The 90-day projects. As many of you know, we started the 90-day projects March 28th. That's when you approved those contracts, 20 contracts for small local businesses. That's great for us, our small local business program. We also went forward with additional contracts. However, we were not able to start and initiate those contracts and the work from those vendors until the second week of July. So we've been working diligently for 4 months. However, our engineers and our staff, as soon as those approvals went through, as soon as the go-ahead went through to go on these 90 days, they started the work that they could do on ground, in the ground, and get things going. So we started in-house immediately. Maintenance and operations. DGS, we had an opportunity to examine some of our small items that we can do internally in terms of our infrastructure, in terms of getting some of our operational systems jump-started in the short run. However, what we know, we need full assessments. We need to look and analyze our systems and see what needs to be done in terms of for long term for the district to support the work order system, to support the fire alarm system, upgrades to keyless entry, and our building management system. PPIS, which is our acronym for Physical Plant Instructional Services, which is our funding from the state. And I will get into detail on what happened with our funding from the state because some of that funding was reclaimed. And we will go through what was allocated to the colleges and what remains. Next slide, please. Okay. When we started this, we had a number of pages that was put together from the colleges. It was an exhaustive list of tasks that needed to be done. In the last 30 days, 40 days, BCC we've completed an additional 11 projects at COA. We've completed quite a few projects. Most of those were changing filters, changing small items, but they were extensive. Merritt, we completed 26. However, you're looking at that completion at Laney. We still have a number of projects that need to be completed at Laney because their list is so extensive. And we will work with Laney to continue a next phase after as we go forward. Next slide, please. I've provided a list of what was completed at BCC. So you can read through and see that, HVAC was repaired, lighting was repaired. We make leaks repairs. So the items that we can work with our vendors and get those things repaired in the last 30 days, these are the items that were recently completed. So if you recall, there was a larger list that I had given out and it was extensive of things were completed. So this is in addition to those items that was on that list. Next slide. Ongoing. please understand that we are looking for ongoing items. We are looking to complete the ongoing items. Once this list is exhausted at BCC and other colleges except for Laney, the 90 days will be completed. However, this list that you see, next page, there's 2 lists for BCC. This is what remains on their list. And you can see again, it's repairs, it's HVAC, it's electrical repairs, things that we have to use our vendors for, and some things that we can do in-house. Not much, but mostly with our vendors. Next page. College of Alameda. There are 2 pages of recently completed items from College of Alameda. Some, again, door repairs, replacing glass, leak repairs, HVAC repairs. This is throughout the district of things that we've been doing all along. Next page, please. Next page. Again, that's just items completed. And I just wanted to have an itemized list of just the last 30, 40 days of what's been completed. And again, this is in addition to the other list that was given out prior. Next page, please. Laney College. The challenge for Laney College are some of their items are so complex. Some of them require multiple vendors. So it takes collaboration with the college, and it takes planning, and we're going forward with those. They're almost modernization projects. Some of them have to be deemed modernization because of the extent and the collaboration that's needed. So these are the items that have been completed at Laney College. Next page. Again, items completed at Laney College. Next page. Ongoing items at Laney College. The only thing that DGS we're looking to do at this time and still remain aggressive about this. This is our first phase of the next items we have to complete at Laney College, which there are a number of leaks. Now, when you think of leaks, you're thinking the leaking roof. That's not what we're seeing. What we're seeing is there's leaking equipment, there's broken pipes, and those broken pipes and leaking equipment is leaking into the classrooms. And those things have to be repaired. And those are the things that we're addressing with the leaks. So that is going to be extensive. Again, Laney College has a very long list of leaks. Next. Again, items to be completed. This is still our first phase of completing items at Laney College. You can see again, leak repairs. Next page, please. Merritt College, items completed at Merritt College, HVAC, wall repairs, lighting, electrical. Just as we've done in the other colleges, we are doing small projects, we're getting them done. These are the items completed in the last 30 to 40 days. Next page, please. Like COA, similar to BCC and Merritt College, once these items in this report are completed, then we're finished with the 90-day list. Again, Laney, we will make arrangements to continue the list and continue our work. Next page. Ongoing list at Merritt. Next page. Let's see. Ongoing modernization projects. As I had spoken before and stated that on that 90-day list, we had to separate out which projects were more than just quick fixes, repairs that 1 or 2 vendors can come in. These projects that are listed here, they require a great deal more work. And so that's why they're separated out, and we will treat them as our modernization projects and come back to the board with how we are going to get those done. Laney College is not listed here. Again, we have to work closely with Laney College because there are a number of repairs that we want to make to the facilities there. Next list. Things that I want to point out that need to be ongoing in order to maintain our facilities. Deep cleaning. Deep cleaning we do once a year. However, that deep cleaning, it gives a jump start to our limited staff at each college of custodians. So that deep cleaning, I remember the great comment that Trustee Quinlan made about when things were sparkling. That was right after the deep cleaning, working with the custodians, but we need to do that every year as often as we can, maybe twice a year, so that we help our custodians at each college. The work order system. We need to automate our work order system. We have so many tasks that we are working on that the work order system has not lost its importance. And we are still working on getting that work order system working. Fire alarm upgrade. We are working with JCI to make the minimal repairs and maintenance repairs that we have to do right now at each college. However, we're still assessing and looking at what's needed for a new system. Keyless entry, it is still on our radar to get keyless entry done. Building maintenance, we need a overall system that controls the infrastructure components such as lighting, heating controls, and HVAC. Next slide. As mentioned, the state in 2023 awarded Peralta $11.5 million PPIS money or schedule maintenance money. That was funds that we intended to use to help with some of these projects and some of the ongoing repairs that we need to do. However, the state has reclaimed $6.77 million of money of the fund that they awarded to us, leaving the district with $4.7 million to address our ongoing schedule maintenance needs. Next slide. Now on this slide is a breakdown, because what we've done is we then took the 11.5 million, showed how we broke it down using the BAM formula and gave each funding, whether it be schedule maintenance and instruction, to each college. So the total funding again comes up to 11.5 million. Then we had to revise that funding. So that 11.5 million was down to 4.7 million. So for example, BCC, instead of receiving $1.1 million, they're going to receive 475,000. So it's a 59% reduction in our schedule maintenance funds district-wide. Next slide. And just as to conclude, I just wanted to give you a snapshot of the bond spending. We will be coming back to the board in January for a full accounting of bond spending, but this lets you know what's been contracted, what's been spent to date, and what the balances are remaining at each college. So again, AECOM and DGS will be coming back to the board to make a full account of bond spending. Okay, next slide.
I think we are moving to questions, right? Yes. Do you have anything else? Okay, thank you. I
That's
don't want to interrupt you.
No.
Trustee Gonzalez Brito, go ahead.
Thank you for this presentation. I guess I'm I'm not sure what to make of the 216 total number of tasks at Laney and only 35 completed, and the fact that they're not yet a plan for modernization. They're not on the modernization list at all. But you mentioned that some of them are probably modernization. So what is the plan to get those into the modernization category, or how are we going to make a dent in that 216? Given the complexity of them, do we need a plan just for those that maybe we can see here at the board?
We do need a plan for that. And if you look, I itemized the leak repairs. That's our next step. We are going to address those leak repairs, but there are pages of leak repairs. Again, we have to go and examine those leak repairs have been identified, but some of them are equipment leaks and some of them are broken pipes. They vary. But it's not what you may think. Roof leaks, usually leak repairs, you think the roof is leaking. That's not the case. This is more in depth and it's going to take more work and vendors to come in, plumbers, general contractors to come in and help us make these repairs.
Thank you. I understand that. And I'm wondering if there's a way to maybe get some kind of report on what the timeline is, given the complexity of those repairs, what the timeline is for those repairs, so that we can get a sense of when we start making a dent into that 216.
I'll be happy to come back with the timeline once we start getting people under contract, and also give us an opportunity to work in conjunction with the college to make sure that we've prioritized the areas that they want to focus on first. So give us a chance to, again, collaborate with the college, and we'll come back and give you a timeline and how this is going to work.
Thank you.
I think just to add to that, Trustee Gonzalez-Brito, we requested on the board level that we would have a quarterly update, Chancellor, about the repairs being done to facilities.
Yes. When we started this really started back in 2021. And there were a lot of things going on, not making any excuses, but some of the items that are on this list have been identified sometimes 5 years ago and have stayed on the list and haven't been repaired because, and then, as you know, it's like a car. If you don't get it fixed, then other things start happening. We had anticipated with the money that we got from the state that we would be able to go out for larger bids to address this. We had heard that because of the $38 billion that the state was in the hole, that was the last one I remember. It may be more than that, but that was the last one that I remember that we were told that the governor was going to look at pulling some of that money back. So we were waiting until we found out if that was going to happen, not if, but how much was it going to affect us? And it did significantly, going from 11 million down to 4. And the funds are not just for deferred maintenance. They're also for instructional equipment. That's the PPIS, the I part, instructional equipment part. So we had to go back and recalculate that. And then we also had the logistics issue of getting things in advance nationwide. So there's been a lot of things that have stalled the projects, but we have to do it. It's not a matter of if, but we have to do it in priority order. So some of the things may look like, well, God, there's a lot of leaks. Well, when we start addressing the leaks, it's going to encompass all of those leaks, not just onesie twosies. But that's going to require somebody to come in and work as a team, which means that it's probably going to be a bid. It's probably going to be awarded to a contractor who's going to subcontract to address all of those. And then we'll develop a punch list. So it's a process, but we've tried to do it so that we address the critical items first. You haven't heard anybody complain about heat, have you? We've had some very cold nights here lately. The heat is working. That was something that we established as a priority. Is it more important to get the leak done, or is it more important to get the heat done? Both of them need to be done, but you only got so many staff, and DGS is also down in terms of staffing. So It's a myriad of things, but we're doing it like you do in an emergency room. You triage what is the most important things first. You know, stop the bleeding, you know, versus let's extract and, you know, fix that broken arm. You can wait, somebody else is bleeding. And so that's what we're trying to do. Laney just has an inordinate number of items that have not been addressed for years. And I mean, that's years, to include something as simple as changing a light bulb. And that was what struck me when I first got here in my listening sessions. And people said, Dr. J, we've been waiting 3 years to get this light bulb changed. I said, why doesn't somebody get a ladder and buy a bulb somewhere and change it? Well, we can't do that because that's not in our contract to do it. There's a lot of different reasons. Everybody's got a reason. The problem is we have got to address this. And that is the push that we've done to get the items done that we've done that you see on the list in the least amount of time, given that we have to go out, we have to let a contract, we have to leave it for 30 days, then we have to award it, then there's a startup. And that's part of the issue right now. So we're hoping that with the vendors that we have, that we've already identified, that we will come in and do amendments to their contracts rather than going back out for bid again, because that will shorten the process. But there are things that have never been bidded that we are going to have to come to you for, but you can see the list. It's extensive. And to the point that I don't know if IVC Smith explained this, we had a manual work order system before, so people put it on a piece of paper. Well, guess what? When you move pieces of paper from here and there, they get lost, people leave, you can't find them. So we've now, as a stopgap method, it's not the full solution, is that we're using our ticketing system that we have for IT requests to capture those items that are work orders. So we have a way of maintaining it, we have a way of documenting it, we have a timestamp on it, and we can assign it and get it done and check it off the list.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Jackson. I just wanted to also
Sure.
add that we have been working on the roofing. We've been working on the elevators. We've been putting lights in, permanent lights, and where we weren't able to, where we have to upgrade the electrical sources, especially at Merritt, we have temporary lights there. So we've been doing the lighting. We've also have done work at the welding shop, the wood shop, and the heat is on.
Thank you. Trustee Johannes, we have a number of questions, so I'm going to start. You go ahead, please. Thank you.
So again, thank you for the work you've done. Thanks for the heat. So I guess my question is, I'm trying to formulate this in such a way that doesn't get too complex, like Laney's issues. Just as Dr. Jackson mentioned, we have items in triage that of course are going to be most important, therefore we address them first. And then there are other items that we'll address moving forward. But I'm wondering, for example, like the ongoing upgrades or what have you, modernizations, for example, the work order system and fire alarm, which are not, they're important, but they're not as important as, you know, all the other items. But if we are not addressing these, are there items that are not in triage that will be in triage in a year that would actually cost us much more than, meaning should we address some of these items that are not triage, like the firearm alarm upgrade, I'm trying to read it, and work order system, because if we wait 2 years later to fix what other things that are dependent on those, they will be millions of dollars more. Is that?
You can't wait. You have to run this parallel. You're going to have to do all these things that need upgrades, things that need repairs, but you're also going to have to triage and, you know, do the lighting, do the electrical repairs, everything that you still need the campus to do. You still need the bigger structure, the infrastructure, the system itself needs to be redone to at the same time. So if you want one go, the other one, it's going to be not a good situation.
I follow. I think the cases, for example, in pardon my ignorance, I'm not going to know all of it. The cases, for example, in consent, we've selected to approve change orders, order like all these items. But it's because certain systems haven't been upgraded, and now it's costing us much more as we're allowing, we have to pay for it. It's a process, but we thought it was going to be done a couple of years ago. We realized, oh, this system isn't working. Let's hold off on that. It's not triage. But as we wait, we're doing change orders for tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars, which at the end of the day, sounds like we should have just addressed that first issue. That wasn't that big. It seems like it's not that big a deal. I'm not saying this is something that we can just address or attack right now if we are understanding what I'm trying to say, but the case is, I think we should also look at some items that are the crux of the other items that are dependent on it.
Just Johannes, if I may, it sounds like what I'm hearing, just to help clarify.
Sure, yeah.
Is that I'm hearing like a short-term versus a long-term investment in our facilities? Is that what I'm hearing?
I'm saying more so understand what is dependent on what.
Right.
Yeah.
Even though the first item is seemingly a small item, but the other items that depend on it are millions and millions of dollars moving forward if we hold on.
Great.
So
Go ahead.
just to try to address what you were saying, Trustee Johannes, you're absolutely right. It may be a leak right now, doesn't seem like that much, but if we don't do it for 2 years, now that leak has ruined, the floor or something like that. So it's much more money. One of the things that's on the board agenda tonight for action is to move forward with an assessment. We want to give you the data that you're saying. We want that to be from an external source, we can't do it ourselves. We want the board to look at someone looking at us that has the knowledge and the expertise to say, yes, these are all of the things you have. These are some recommendations that we have. These things can wait. These things can take this amount of time based upon industry standards. It's going to take you approximately X amount of hours to do it. Factor all of that in. Give us some timetables. Give us some external recommendations on what we should do first. We think we know, but we want somebody else to do that. At the same time, we're going to be working like IBC Smith said, we can't wait for them to do that because we have to work in parallel with what they're doing based upon our own knowledge. And hopefully those two items marry up at the end. This isn't going to be a long project. The board wants me to come back by the next board meeting. We've already started this, by the way, so this isn't new. We've already started. We're just getting a little bit of fire under our belly, so to speak, as they say in the military, to move forward with it with a little bit more alacrity than we have, because we can't afford to wait.
I understand what you're saying. Thank you for the breakdown. I'm not necessarily saying, oh, the leak will wait because it's just a leak. More so, oh, okay, we see that there's a leak. We contract it out. We say, okay, it's going to cost $50,000. Someone comes in, we got everything done. Someone comes in and said, oh, actually, we can't do the leak because your alarm system hasn't been done. So now we wait, but the alarm system isn't that high up. So we're waiting and waiting. By the time we fix the alarm system, now the leak costs $300,000. So I'm saying to understand what is not directly related at the very beginning, before we allow certain contracts to realize that they are complex, they do work together. But if we approve one thing without something else being, we need to speak with these contractors, participatory governance of sorts, and have a little circle and say, hey, what needs to be done first before we allow anything? And now we're spending extra money that we didn't expect to. It was, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we're already there.
Yeah.
For just to be honest with you, we're already there, because these things didn't just happen a year ago. So you're right.
So
We're already there. So what we're trying to do, first thing to say, when you're digging in a hole, stop digging. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick time out. We've already started with this process. As I explained to the board president, we've already started this to have someone to come in to look at our ADA compliance. That report is almost done. To look at our condition of our facilities, so that it's not just a single report, it's looking at a multiple, and then to make recommendations and prioritizations to help us to make sure that we aren't fixing something that's going to cost us $300,000 when it can cost $25,000 today. But we know we know, I know, having been in this position before with a older college like Fresno City College, the oldest college in the nation, oh, well, not the nation, but in the state of California, that it does take that time out. Let's sit down and look and see what we need to do. Let's look at prioritization. Here is our plan. These are our estimates of how long it's going to take us based upon industry standards that say when you fix a pipe, it's going to take you an average of, you know, X amount of hours, man hours to do it, and factor all of those things in so that we can give an estimate to the board and to the colleges and our constituents of how long is it going to take us to do this. Manage expectations, not that, you know, because people look at what they see. You know, I've been working in this building so long and I know this needs to get done, but we have to look at 5 sites, not just one room, one campus. And so I think when we do that, which we haven't done, or if we have, we haven't explained it enough or communicated it enough, that people understand if they have, okay, I know this is probably not going to get done until spring because we got all these other things that we got to do. But if it's just on a list and we say, we're working on it, we're working on it, we're working on it, that doesn't give people a warm fuzzy. At least it doesn't give me a warm fuzzy. And I'm the CEO, at least for now. One more meeting, but who's counting?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nikki?
Thank you. I indulge my comments and questions here for a minute here. I first want to say, look, you know, it's clear there's so many issues in the district. And so sometimes we have staff come, they report them, and the tendency is to shoot the messenger as opposed to welcome the message, like, thank you for bringing us bad news. So if any of this comes across as critical, it's not critical of any person here. Sure, people have responsibilities and so forth, but really what we're looking at is an institutional structure here, a series of structures and decisions that have been made over many, many years that have led to a pretty catastrophic outcome. As some people say, just like, we've got no idea how bad it is. It really is that bad. So that's just preface. As a matter of information, it would be helpful on the charts of the 90-day items to actually have dates when the ticket was put in, because 90-day is a misnomer. These aren't 90-day. These are like 6 months, 9 months, and so forth. And so to call them 90-day sets expectations that they're going to be done in 3 months, and yet there's no possible way this list is going to get done. So I think as we move forward with reporting, if we can fill in the detail of when the ticket was made, and then if it says repaired, when that was done and what was done there. I'm sure DGS has all that information, and I think this board is competent to be able to sort through some Gantt charts or spreadsheets. So that's just structural. I've got a question on, Vice Chancellor, you had indicated, and by the way, thank you very much for the work. I know this must be just very painful to have to come and face us and the campuses day after day. You've indicated that a number of these items could be recategorized as modernization. And if we went back to the initial list of some 400 items here, what percentage of this work could have been recharacterized as modernization? Just ballpark.
If we combine things, maybe 20–25%, but then that is, you know, grouping things together and then putting it out to bid.
Okay. So part of what I'm thinking about is as I look at this list, it seems to me that we don't have the funding to do it. Now, the very last page of your chart says something is about the bond spending. And it occurs to me that had we in 2016 and 2017 been preparing for the 2018 bond, been looking, if we had had the institutional structures in place we could have at that point said, you know what, these entire categories of things need to be taken care of with bond. Now we're having to pay for them out of different dollars. Maybe at this point, part of the work that is envisioned in item 11.2, the facilities assessment, you know, maybe part of that work can be looking at this and saying, well, all right, 25% of this work we could recategorize as modernization. Maybe this can get paid for out of bond money, and that frees up a list of things. I will note that in 2018, when we voted on that bond, I was the sole dissenter on that. I made the argument then that our finances and structures were so chaotic that we were in no way prepared to spend almost $1 billion of money. And here we are 5 years later, having not spent even a third of that money. I think had we in fact paused at that moment and said, we're not ready, why don't we take a year to get ready and then go to the voters, we'd have probably gotten more done had we actually stopped at that point. I don't know, you know, that's second guessing history, and we've got the bond money, let's go ahead and use it. The last thing that I want to say is this, and this is going to sound like criticism, but it's really not. And I just profoundly mean that. Item 11.2 is written in such vague language that it's almost irresponsible for me to vote for it. Basically, it says, I know we're not there yet, we'll get there, but I'm going to just include it while I've got it. It basically says, authorize the board president and chancellor to come up with a contract of some indeterminate money and then even start spending it without board approval and then ratify it. Okay, that to me is crazy. Now, I trust this chancellor, I trust the board president, but frankly, we're co-equal members of a board.
We are, we can discuss that further on that item.
Well, just, so we'll get there, but as we are responding here, my point is this: I think this board is asking to be kept informed, and I'm appreciating this report, but I think the board as a whole must be kept informed on an equal basis. So we'll pick this back up when we get to 11.2. Again, this isn't any one individual's problem. This is a structural problem, and I'm hoping that when we get to 11.2, that is addressed. Thank you very much.
Sure. Trustee Ewing, I also would like to say that because of COVID, our major capital projects were significantly delayed. Also, you know, we had to go back again, 25 years of uncertified projects. We had to, before we can go forward with our major capital projects. So what you're not seeing is the money that is allocated to the major capital projects that are now moving forward. So you will see that in January when AECOM and DGS comes back to show you what the allocations are and where the money is sitting. So you can see how it's going to be spent. So yes, there were delays, but those were delays that were outside the district's purview.
Thank you very much for pointing that out. My bigger point though is that we have these shiny new things that we're going to be spending bond money on when the underlying infrastructure is so rotten that maybe we would have been better served by reconsidering how we were spending bond money to begin with and doing some of that just very basic work. And that reflected a lack of planning on the part of our administration at the time and our board at the time. And that's just the way it was.
Well, Trustee Ewan, that's a great point. And that goes back to what Trustee Johannes brought up, meaning that we have all these underlying issues. We've got to fix those in conjunction with moving forward. And if we don't fix them at the same time, you're just putting lipstick on a pig, and it's not going to be productive. You're wasting money. So yes, you have an underlying problem with the infrastructure. It has to be addressed. So that's what we're talking about now. Address it so that you can have the stellar capital project that we're planning. And you will see those when they come back in January.
Thank you.
Trustee Weiss.
Thank you, Interim Vice Chancellor Smith. I'm going to piggyback on what Chancellor Jackson just said a second ago, where the fact that we're getting something fixed doesn't really give us a fuzzy feeling because it doesn't. And I think that what you're hearing and what we're seeing is that these repairs have been going on for a long time, and they are still not where we had hoped they would be. And that is very disheartening on so many different levels. And we're not even at the campuses where it's even more disheartening. We're not the students in the room. We're not the faculty and the classified in those rooms. And that's utterly disheartening. And so I don't even know where to begin. But maybe one of the things I'll say is that I do agree with the 90 days. That does need to have a beginning and end, because in September,
we'll change the name.
In September of 22, when you first had put forth the first 90-day completion, there were a few things that were bulleted there as being completed, and that was the HVAC at Merritt, Alameda, and Berkeley. And now what we're seeing is that for those three colleges, the HVAC is still being repaired. And that's the kind of fragmented solutions that were partially remedied that ended up being bigger problems, just like the leaks. I think what we were doing probably, as you were saying, Dr. Jackson, is we were, kind of piecemealing it. But what it clearly is something infrastructural and much larger. But again, has been going on for a really long time, like almost impossibly long to even fathom that we're still at this particular point. But I'm going to move on from there. The other part of it is, to your point, Trustee Yuen, the bond monies cannot be used for repair, right? So that's not something that we would have even been able to do. The repair issue, the repair problem is a problem, but bond monies cannot be allocated for that. So that's not even an option. I do have a question though, in terms of the table, and maybe it'd be a good idea to go to the table. So the table that you put up there in terms of our bond monies, do you want to look at it on your screen? Okay. So we have here the projected budget at 952 million and the remaining balance at 819 million, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess my question is, from what measure is this from?
When AECOM comes, they will break down that will spend down from measure A and also from measure G. So they will break that down. I just have an overview, but I wanted to go back for a second. Yes, we do have to address the overall structure of items, but when we get our list, it's what you're looking at is itemized. Room 201 needs this. Room 30 something needs that. So we addressed that to help the instruction and also the students and faculty per area. So, and yes, we're looking at it in its totality.
Right. Agreed. And then when it says campus-wide, that's a little bit more worrisome, right? Because it's still a campus-wide problem. But going back to the table, I think so I compared this to the tables from AECOM a little bit before, and they don't quite match up. And so I think that's also kind of the issue, where we're seeing the reports, but the reports aren't exactly, they're not necessarily comporting with one another. And again, there's so much that's going on.
Sure. Sasha, this isn't the page. It's the last
next
page.
one, page 21.
There you go.
Right. So the last time AECOM was here, they had put a bond breakdown. And again, it doesn't comport a little bit. So it's just a little bit confusing in terms of the amounts that we see and what our spend is and how much we actually have left, and being able to distinguish between what's measure A and what's measure G, and how much we had left in measure A in April of 2022 and what is here that seems to be kind of conflated. So those little things are so important because those details are so incredibly important. And maybe on some level, if they're not quite right, it might be better to not actually put them in there because it makes it a little difficult. But again, you have so much to do. So I absolutely understand. And then this is probably one of the reasons when we get to the action item regarding facilities, why this would be good to kind of to talk about for sure in terms of a deep dive and assessment and, you know, kind of how we go forward. But thank you, IVC Smith, because your work is incredibly Herculean, for sure it has been, but it's a village that needs to take care of it and not just one person for sure.
Thank you.
Quinlan, and then we have Trustee Withrow.
Yes, thank you. So I have questions about the elevators at Laney. I've read the email that went out that 3 of them are basically non-operational. The handicap elevators in G and the Forum and I think the one in the
Student Center.
Pardon?
Student Center.
Student Center. Are okay. And then what's the status of the tower elevators?
Okay, so those all elevators are operational, all of them. They were tagged out because when the inspectors come, they were given a fee that we have to pay for the state. There was a breakdown because we have individuals who have come and gone out of our department. So that's why there was an issue and they were tagged out. All elevators are operational.
So have they been untagged?
We've paid our fees and they are in the process of untagging those elevators immediately. Yes.
So have the elevators in the tower, have they been repaired?
Modernized. One has been modernized. The other one is functional. And soon as they come and do the final assessment for that, then we will do the next one. We cannot have them both down at the same time.
So the second question I have, the fire alarm situation, is that still prohibiting the state architecture's office from taking on some of our projects? Are they holding our projects on hold because of the fire alarm situation?
The Laney Library is moving forward. We will work with JCI to do the theater. So all of the other projects are moving forward. Now that we have gotten things, the issues itemized and identified with JCI, we are moving forward with JCI so we can get those things moving as quickly as possible so that the theater, the DSA, it will be out of DSA as soon as we get that addressed. And we're working on that now.
Okay, and the other question I had is HERF funding gave us a certain amount of money to do maintenance. And do you remember what the total of that was and how much of it was actually used?
I don't remember the total, but I can bring it back when I come back next quarter.
And I also want to point out, we did initially allocate those funds. We reallocated those funds to Fall is Free 2022.
Fall is Free for
Spring of 2023.
And the
and fall of 2023 and spring of 2024. So yes, we initially allocated that towards some of these projects, thinking that we had the $11 million. The $11 million went away. We decided to use some of those to increase our enrollment. Hindsight is 2020. So the money that we allocated is not the same as what we initially thought, because we re-diverted those to try to increase our enrollment, which was successful, by the way, but we need to go back and give you an update of HERF. You will be getting that because HERF funds go away in the spring of 2024, and we have to do a reconciliation anyway to submit to the federal government.
So the other question I had was about the repair management system, the maintenance tickets. So if I remember correctly, like 2015, 16, I remember that we had to switch making our new complaints to a new system when I was faculty. And we, at that time, didn't we buy a management system for our, for managing our repairs and you know, both the problems and the repair of those, that work?
The Delta system, I think it was Delta system at that time. And I would have to say that, like many other things, because of the people going in and out of DGS department, I think this is now the most stability for a very long time. We can address things that are now not obsolete, but are not working and not functioning and they were not maintained during that time.
So we can upgrade that system as opposed to buying a new system?
We'll have to, that's why we're going to assess it and see what we need. Are we going to upgrade the existing system, or are we going to get a new system? That's what we're looking at.
So, and then the final question I have is about the electronic door locks. I saw two reports in here, one from Merritt and one from Berkeley, where there were electronic door locks and they had to be removed and replaced with manual keys. And I'm just wondering, with the amount of usage and the type of usage our buildings see, I think when I first started here in 2005 or 6, we had some type of electronic pass system to get in there when the buildings weren't open on the weekends and stuff when we needed to work. And that failed pretty miserably at that time. And I'm wondering if what's happening at Berkeley and Merritt with electronic locks not being working and being replaced, if we want to invest a huge amount of money in something that so far we haven't proven is going to work.
That was not a district-wide initiative. That was a campus initiative. So if it goes through DGS, it will work.
And what was the date of that?
2015.
Technology has changed tremendously.
Yeah,
since
we
then.
didn't install that. The
No,
DGS.
but I'm talking about the door lock. I mean, the electronic lock.
It was installed at the campus level. So DGS was not involved in that at that time.
So they did that on their own.
Yes.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I'm just, when I went back through the list, we've done a number of assessments on buildings and college-wide and district-wide, and all we've seemed to generate is more issues that aren't solved as opposed to getting clarity on a picture and a plan to move forward. And I'm concerned about spending money on another assessment that's just gonna.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Thank you. And I understand, Trustee Wither, you have some questions as well.
Thank you very much for the complete rundown that you provided. One of the things that crosses my mind as I'm scattering through these and walking through some of the buildings. Do we keep track of whether we're still in compliance with the law when we have a deficiency?
When you say in compliance, are you saying in compliance with DSA?
No, for example, just a general type of example. If you've got a room where personnel are involved, whoever they are, you have to have 2 doors working.
Oh, yes.
In a room.
Yes.
If you're down to 1 door, that room should be shut down for the law,
Correct.
Are we monitoring that sort of thing?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Trustee
Thank you.
Wicker,
So-
just to expand just a little bit, I won't go into a lot of detail, but we had some issues with our fire system. At one point, prior to me getting here, prior to IVC Smith taking on that role, we were fined because we did not have an adequate fire suppression system.
Right.
Our current system is like a circle. Remember the old lights you used to get at Christmas? One light bulb went out. You had to go figure out which light bulb was it that was out, change that one light bulb. We're trying to move to a system where it's a fail-safe system and we can isolate that, fix that, but the system still works. That was not the case. So what we've done, because we are working in tandem to try to fix those issues, is we are using our marina security to do fire watch right now. Because I don't trust the system. It works, But if something goes down, I don't want it to be on my watch.
Exactly.
So we are addressing those. Anything that is compliance, that's why some of these projects have been backed up because DSA said, I'm sorry, you guys haven't done anything for 25 years. We're not going to approve your next modernization project. We're not going to improve your heaters or your chillers going in because you haven't addressed those other things. When you clean them up, come back and see us. So that has also delayed moving forward with some of these projects. And we don't give you an update of blow by blow, but that has come to light, and we have shared that in many forums throughout the district when people ask about it. But, you know, sometimes, like I think Trustee Ewing said, don't kill the messenger, especially if they're bringing you bad news. We just got to fix it. That's the thing. And that, I won't talk about it, but that's part of that item 11.2.
Also, Trustee Withrow, I think what you're also asking, every project that DGS does goes through DSA, and we have inspectors that come out and make sure everything is compliant and built to specifications.
Good. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? And as this is a presentation, there's no action at this time. So thank you very much, Chancellor. And thank you, IVC Smith, for your work. Let's move to 5.1, approval of all consent items. May I hear a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you,
Second.
Trustee Reese, and seconded by
Second.
Trustee Gonzalez-Yuen. Any additional discussion? Hearing and seeing none, let's move to a vote.
Student Trustee Masson,
Yes.
Trustee Withrow,
Yes.
Trustee Johannes,
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez-Yuen,
Yes.
Trustee Napoli Bellarius,
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez Brito,
Yes.
Trustee Quinlan,
Yes.
Trustee Delphine Polk.
Yes, thank you.
Motion passes.
Thank you. So let's move to our action item. So 11.1, consider approval of the employment agreement with Dr. Tamil Gilkerson as Chancellor of the Peralta Community College District Board of Trustees.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay. Motion by Trustee Gonzalez-Yuen, second by VP Quinlan. Discussion, colleagues? Okay, let's go ahead and move to vote.
Student Trustee Masson,
Yes.
Trustee Withrow,
Yes.
Trustee Johannes,
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez-Yuen,
Yes.
Trustee Napoli Bellarius,
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez Brito,
Yes.
Trustee Quinlan,
Yes.
Trustee Delphine Polk.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great, thank you very much, and welcome to Dr. Gilkerson, and welcome back. We're very excited to have you. Unfortunately, she was unable to be here with us tonight, but we have been in communication, and it's going to be a great year next year, y'all. Just saying. Moving to 11.2, consider approval of a facilities assessment by a third party. And so this was brought to us by one of our colleagues here. And so I'm going to go ahead and ask Trustee Reese if you'd like to speak on this item. Sure. Before we.
I think we need a motion and a second
Please
for
do.
discussion.
Let's hear a motion then. I can't hear over the feedback. Can I have a motion, please? So we can discuss this item. Okay, I need a motion so we can.
Second.
Second, thank you. So
I'll second.
motion by who? I need, yes, Trustee Reese motion, seconded by Trustee Withrow, and I will now hand it over to you.
So as we saw in the previous presentation, we have huge issues within our facilities area. And we, I think within closed session, we, the board, have talked about this in different variations at different times. And the question becomes, how do we actually tackle this in a methodical way? And I think some of the issues and some of the questions that were posed today in the discussion pointed to the fact that we really are kind of dealing with this incrementally, but we're dealing with it without a map. And so the parallel for us was when we got the FICMAT analysis, we were able to have a map from which to actually start dealing with the problem. If we don't have a sense of an external agency who's not associated with the district, somebody who's never been to the district before, that comes in, gives an assessment, isn't a contractor that actually is going to be getting a construction contract, then we are able to figure out on a macro level what is happening here as it relates to compliance issues. Not just, we don't want somebody that's going to come in and tell us our buildings are old and that we need this much money for our buildings, but we need to deal with the kind of compliance issues, whether it's fire inspection, whether it's elevator, whether it's OSHA, whether it's the leaks and whether the leaks are dangerous, you know, the water that's coming from the leaks are dangerous. So that's what we're looking for. I think that's the first prong. The second prong is also, and this was in an email that we had talked about, the second prong is also looking at our bond spend. Where are we? Have those contracts, just really kind of doing an audit in terms of our bonds. And so as we move on to a new chancellor, and as we look at how much work our current chancellor has done, and the district moving in a variety of different positive ways, what we want to ensure is that this facility area is kind of, it's illuminated, at least for the board, so that we know what we're dealing with and that the problems that have existed for 20 or 30 years don't continue to be inherited by the next chancellor and the next chancellor and the next chancellor. I think that that was the question and that was the problem we were trying to answer, because at this board, at this dais, we're always talking about how bad the facilities are, but we don't do anything about it that's going to help us kind of understand the depth and gravity of the situation. That's number one. The second part of it is, and I should have said it earlier in the presentation, but maybe this is a more opportune time. I think once this board realizes the gravity of the situation, and once we've kind of excavated the problems and have put it out on the table for all of us to see, I think the commitment that the board needs to make is the monetary commitment and the time, because we can look at those assessments that have been given to the board in the past and they haven't proven beneficial because we haven't done anything about it. But if we are really committed to actually making this district better and making Laney a much better structural college or institution for people to want to go to as our flagship institution, since it's the largest institution, then we need to make a commitment to this board, but we need to know what the problems are. And we need, I think, somebody who is much more versed and external to the district to be able to do that.
Trustee Gonzalez, you want?
Chancellor Jackson, it occurs to me that we're about to have a massive change of leadership, and I'm mindful of the comments my colleague has just made. It seems to me that the incoming leader will be the appropriate person to make the choice of that assessment. And so I'm wondering, Chancellor, as you look at this item and consider bringing it back for approval, what role will our Chancellor designate Gilkerson play in that selection process? I will feel on this day much more comfortable if it has her endorsement and full participation, so that we can be assured she is accountable with a team that she has chosen.
Forgot to turn my mic on. To address your concern, Trustee Ewing, I've already reached out to Dr. Gilkerson, and she was hesitant in being involved in any process until the board approved her contract, which you've just done. She is the designee. She will be fully involved, as she indicated to me. She just did not want to breach that kind of chasm between being acknowledged as and recommended and presented to the community and press releases and in the Jim's article, to the point where the negotiation was taking place on a contract. So now that that has been removed and she is in fact the incoming, it's like the ballot counts for the president. The Electoral College has weighed in and now said that she will be coming and voted on it tonight. We will begin that transition process. I am looking forward to retiring again and assisting again. This will be the third time again, and assisting Dr. Gilkinson. And I want her to be successful. I will do everything that I can to assist her in that effort. I do believe that an assessment, and this is where I would like to hear from all of you. What do you want in your assessment? So that we make sure that when we go out or we select a vendor to move forward, that the scope of work and the deliverables are identified. So this is really for us, me currently still as a chancellor, and our team here at the district to know. So let me just give you a little bit of, my teacher is coming out. We've already indicated that we're currently been working on this. This didn't just happen. So it may seem like, oh my God, you're going to do this in a month. No, we've been working on this since last fall. We went out with an informal RFP process. We've identified companies that have not worked with the district before, so they are external, but we have not finalized their scope of work. They're already looking at our ADA. That report should be completed within the next month, I believe. They've already started on the assessment of our condition of our facilities. So that is one component, is a look at the condition of our facilities. We did not tell them to do any prioritizations. We didn't tell them to make any recommendations. We didn't tell them to give us a timeline. Those are new things that I heard tonight. So we can go back and make those changes. But if there's anything else, I heard about the bond, that we need to do some reconciliation. That may be somebody totally different than who we have right now identified to do the condition. So we've already started on some things. So this isn't like, brand new. We just now thought of it. We're trying to push it down the board's throat to get it done before Dr. Jackson gets out here, because it won't be. But we can at least identify the scope of the work, the deliverables, and the vendors that are going to provide the services. And that's what the meet with the president, because the board traditionally, after its meeting on December, delegates to the chancellor to move forward because the business of the district continues. So that was why it was put in there as that point. So hopefully that helps, but I really would like to see, what would the board like to see in this assessment? So when it's done, you're saying this is exactly what we wanted versus, oh, this missed the mark, so tell us, we're amenable to that.
Thank you. Trustee Gonzalez Brito.
Yeah, I guess I'm confused by why we're being presented an action item that is so general without, if the thought has been put into it, what would the assessment actually look like? And is it just an assessment, or is it a plan? Is it prioritizing? And so I've heard all those things, but all we're being asked to do is approve a facilities assessment. I really want to know, for instance, for Measure G, it talks about rehabilitation, but I keep hearing that we can't use money for repairs. And I want to know what the difference between rehabilitation and repairs is. And I want to know, what we actually can use bond money for, and if we can, if any of the items that we're talking about here can actually be categorized as rehabilitation. And I guess I know we're in a hurry and it's urgent, but I guess I'm trying to figure out why all of a sudden it's become so urgent that we can't wait for the new chancellor to get here. I understand that she'll be involved, in some way, but she's also going through a huge transition. And there'll be a lot of things to transition over to her. And so this seems like, you know, a huge step forward, but I'm not sure it's urgent because we know the problem is there and it exists. But why all of a sudden, yeah, we're being asked to just kind of approve this general assessment.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll try to address it. Like I said, it isn't.
And then
it
trustee
may
Reese will
s-
jump in as well.
I'm sorry.
No,
do-
no, go ahead, Chancellor, and
Okay,
then trustee Reese is up to you.
I just want to make sure that we don't lose the question when we go to another question and to address what you said. Trustee, we have been working on this. Like I said, we've already identified the ADA shortfalls that we have, which is required. We must do that. We have already started on that. So that assessment, as you say, is already taking place. That will be under this broad umbrella of assessment because we've already started some things. We've already looked at and are currently still looking at the condition. The things that we have not done are some of the things that you brought out earlier, which is we didn't say give us a timeline. We just said do an assessment. But we also want to have, from what I'm hearing, some priorities, recommendations for priorities. They don't make the decisions, they present them. That will be up to the incoming chancellor to look at that, but she's going to be involved with that already. And she has a history. She isn't coming to us, you know, pristine, never having worked on a construction project before. She has some background in that. So even though it's a transition, the fundamentals are still there. The other thing is, and this is the part that I was asking, you're creating what we're going to put in the assessment right now. I'm just telling you what we've already done and what we've already looked at. If there's something that isn't with the condition of the facilities, if there is something, like you said, you want to know the difference between a rehab and what you say, repairs, we can give you that information. Doesn't changing chancellor won't change that definition.
I guess I'm having a really hard time with feeling like I've got to come up with the perfect assessment right now.
You don't.
To approve versus the staff having said, this is the kind of assessment and plan we want to have and respond to this, what's missing, what's not, and not be, you know, under this.
Here's the reports right here, if you want to look through them. I didn't want to give them to you, but I told you we've already done that. And I'm telling you what's in these reports. And this is only a part of a document that's this thick in terms, this is the executive summary. We've already done all of that. What I'm telling you is
there's a plan for the assessment. There's the goals and outcomes all laid out in terms of what we want in the assessment.
These are the documents that we have for the plans right now. They are not finalized. And that's why we're asking for the board's guidance on moving forward if there's something that we aren't currently doing. If you'd like to wait until the new chancellor gets here, you're more than, you have that ability to do that. That isn't going to change anything except to make it extend further so that in the fall, you may be hearing these same complaints again because time is not on our side. It's not that we're trying to do it. It's that our constituencies are saying, when are you going to get this done?
But I think that goes back to something I heard Trustee Gonzalez Yuan say, which is like, we have these assessments, we have all these documents that tell us what's wrong. I want to know the plan to get them fixed. And that's what I was asking Vice Chancellor earlier is, you know, how are we going to move some of these things into modernization? How are we going to pay for them? Which ones are we going to do first? And so that we're not talking about it again in the fall.
That's what we're asking you to do right now. That's the component that's missing. We've already done the scope. We've already identified what they need to look at. We've identified we need to look at the condition of our facilities. We know what problems are out there. You heard about them today. None of that is going to change. The only thing that we did not put in there are the things that you just brought up when you had your discussion, which is, when is it going to be completed? What is the timeline? What are the prioritization? Is there something that we aren't looking at that someone else can say, oh, you need to take care of this right away? Because if you don't do it now, it's going to be later on. And we can't put all of that in the narrative. That's why we tried to make it broad enough so that we could include the things that you either identify tonight
Well, I
or when
guess
we come back.
This
But
is the last thing I'll say, is just that if there's a scope, I think I would have wanted to see it. If there's already a scope of this assessment.
you've
for this
already
assessment.
approved some of these. They were in the agenda items that we've approved in the past.
Then why are we approving? It's confusing to me. And yeah, I'll stop now.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So again, if this is something that you're not comfortable with, then don't vote for it. This was actually the reason that we had put this on the board agenda was because we were really thinking about this kind of transition and the new chancellor coming in. And the new chancellor does know about also the assessment. So this is not something that we're trying to push through to get to a particular point. These problems have been here for a really, really, really long time, ever since I got elected to the board, and really hasn't been much, there hasn't been enough of a progress going forward with this. And I would even maybe venture to say that this has been here for 20 years or 25 years in terms of the gravity of many of these problems. And so for those that were not here and don't really understand exactly what the FICMAT analysis was, the FICMAT analysis was an external agency coming in, doing a very, 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 very deep dive, not at all associated with the district, that told us what our problems were. And what it gave us was, and I said it earlier, but like I said, it's hard to, if you don't know what FICMAT was and what they really did, it gave us a map. It told us what we were doing wrong. It told us what we needed to do. So the reason why this is also a little bit kind of general, and I thank you so much. And actually the chancellor had said, I don't necessarily want to put this on the board agenda. It was the board leadership and myself that actually said, let us put this on the board agenda because we gotta get this done. Tamil is going to have so many issues that she's got to be dealing with, but we don't want her to inherit this problem that every chancellor has inherited. So that's the reason why I'm coming to the chancellor's defense, because she was the one who said they're going to think that we're trying to push this through. And there's nothing that's being tried to push through here. We're trying to help the district, number one, help Tamil, number two. But if this is something where, and I think the reason also why the generality of the particular agenda item was such was because we only have one more meeting. And so what I had hoped was that we could actually get the scope and the contract by December 11, which is the next meeting. And that's the last meeting, which is in a month. And we were afraid that it wasn't actually going to get onto that meeting. But we wanted to get it started, which Tamil knows about, would get started before she came on board. And if you all are not, if you're uncomfortable with that, that's fine. That's fine. That's totally fine. Then let's get this going when Tamil's here. She's going to have a million other things that are going on, and she'll have to deal with the facilities problem, which has been a problem for many, many years. And then, when we get to that particular point, we get to that particular point. So it's fine. And I thank Chancellor Jackson, because she was the one who said, it's going to be an issue. So, and I said, we've been talking about this problem for such a long time. The board gets the problem. But clearly there's other issues involved with it, and that's fine. I'd rather put it to rest and not deal with it, and then we'll deal with it when we deal with it next. But thank you.
And just one other thing, this forms the foundation for our facilities master plan. We cannot come up with a facilities master plan if we do not do an assessment of where we are now. So that's why we started this process, because we know that as soon as the board passes its strategic plan, the colleges have already passed their master plans. Those are the foundation for moving forward with a facilities master plan, because the facilities master plan supports the college's educational goals and the board's goals. So it's like a puzzle, Lego, if you want to put it that way. But if you want to wait, I just do not want this to then become an issue when we do not move and you're discussing this because it's been pushed off again, and you have a new chancellor who has a plate this full, and this is one of many things that she's going to have to address. So the impetus was to move forward to at least get it started, to identify any additional things that we are not doing right now, and then to bring that back when we decide on a vendor and present it to the board in January. And Tamil, Dr. Gilkerson will be involved in it as much as she can, given that she's also trying to transition out of her job into a new job and to turn that over to someone. So I'm perfectly fine either way the board decides to vote.
Okay, we have a lot of people in stack, so if you can keep your comments brief, we'll start with you, Nikki.
Thank you. And I guess I want to just urge us all to take a step back, take a breath. When we get suspicious and kind of jammed up with each other, we don't do well. So I'm going to take a breath myself. The structures are broken here. That's the problem. And so as we look at an assessment of what needs to be done, I think Trustee Reese, you're completely right that the kind of analysis that FICMAT helped us do that identified the substantive problems, but then also the structural problems, and they gave us a roadmap here, do these things as an external agency was extremely helpful. And so thank you for bringing your expertise and that history here. Part of the problem is because the structure is broken, you put a new person in, you bring in a new vice chancellor, and then it's like bringing in a new trustee. With a broken system, it doesn't work. Any one of us operating within this system can't make it work. And so we as a board have to start working together in a different way. And so I think we need to kind of invest some trust in ourselves. Chancellor, you asked for what it is that the board might want, and just speaking for myself, I would second Trustee Reese's comments about wanting that kind of a structural roadmap. That is, look, we approved almost $1 million contract to do facilities assessments. So we don't need to redo that. That work is being done. Anybody coming in here has to lean into that work and incorporate that work. What we need, I believe, more is to incorporate that work and then look at the structural things that are leading to the dysfunction, why we can't spend bond money, why we can't prioritize work, why we don't have systems of reporting that say 90 days really means 90 days, et cetera. Those things are all broken and they're not any one person. And so I think that external view is important. But I also think that as a board, we need to be investing in each other. Now, the way this item is written is that it invests the decision-making in two people, an outgoing chancellor and a board president. Okay. I myself would feel much more comfortable if this were amended so that it was done in consultation with the incoming chancellor and also with our vice president. We have two board officers. These board officers represent different points of view, different areas of expertise. I think if our board leadership could lean on each other, and then we could, in fact, fully engage our chancellor designate, I would feel confident that it would give us a running head start. Then when we come in December, the chancellor is going to bring us something that's been vetted by the incoming chancellor as well as both board officers. I think if we could get that kind of a recommendation, then the board would be in a position to actually look at something in writing and then vote yes or no. If at that point we go, you know what, we don't like this. At that point, we can say, we'll just wait an extra month. Chancellor Gilkerson can start over and do it. But I think the argument around the urgency of time and giving the new chancellor a running head start is a compelling argument. Some people are arguing, well, she's busy getting, dropping a job in Evergreen. Well, it's not going to get any calmer coming here, frankly. It's just going to get busier. So I'd rather take advantage of that transition point and take advantage of the outgoing chancellor, provided that that happens in consultation with both board officers and the incoming chancellor. So I would ask for an amendment of this item. And the amendment of this item would say something along the lines of, if we just look at the second paragraph of the item, which is a little bit vague as it is right now, but that's all right. It'll come back in December. In the event if a suitable vendor can be found prior to the January board meeting, the chancellor is directed to proceed in full consultation with Chancellor Designate Gilkerson and the board president and vice president. And if we could simply do that, this item would have my full support and confidence. And I think it's actually a really good idea. And I thank Trustee Napoli Bella Reese for taking the initiative to help this board move forward. So I propose that as an amendment. If it is accepted as a friendly amendment, maybe we might move forward. So I've made it as a formal proposal, and I'm asking for an acceptance of that amendment by the maker and the seconder. If it's not a friendly amendment, I'll move it forward as a not friendly amendment and see whether we can get a vote on that. But I've asked for a friendly amendment. Is that an acceptable amendment?
Dr. J, are you okay with that? And if, yeah, okay. Yep.
So I'm seeing a nods of head from the maker and seconder. And so now that is the formal motion that is in front of the board. Sasha, did you need me to read that again?
Yes, please.
Okay, so this isn't the exact language, but it's something like picking up with the chancellor is directed to proceed in full consultation with Chancellor Designate Gilkerson and the board president and vice president, comma, and then the rest of it
We
reads.
have that as
as
board
follows.
leadership, not necessarily the two, because I think we have.
That, no, those are the board officers.
There we go.
The board officers. I'm fine with that. Just so long as it's understood that we've got two board officers, we're bringing them both in. Sasha, you got it? You want to read it back?
The chancellor is to proceed with full consultation with Chancellor Designate Gilkerson and the board president and vice president. You want to repeat it back to me one more time?
No, that's fine. That'll work. It says the same thing, really. It says the same thing. Deanna, are you good? Okay. Thank you. Okay, that's the motion in front of the board. Thank you.
It's the amendment to the motion. Thank you. I know we have other hands up. Who's next? Louis, I think you're next. Go ahead.
So I have a couple of concerns about this. Number one, I agree an assessment of the facilities is, well, we've done it a dozen times. We might as well go for 13 and hope that works. Beyond that, I think we need an assessment of our current contractors and the work they've performed and the capacity to do the work in the future. We need an assessment of the maintenance work and staffing needs to maintain the facilities once they get repaired. Because so far we have not been willing to pay for that. And one of the FICMAT things, one of their recommendations that says we haven't been doing is, does the district budget include physical plan and instructional support funds? Are they spending at least 0.5% of its current operating budget on ongoing maintenance? And the answer is no. So if we want to fix facilities and keep them fixed, then as a board, we need to make a commitment to supporting maintenance of those ongoing maintenance of those facilities, which we haven't done in the past. And then the last one, the assessment of maintenance work staffing that we need currently, and then an assessment or an estimate of what kind of funding it's going to take to accomplish the work that is laid out of that assessment. So, so this is a more kind of comprehensive plan than just saying these things are messed up. these things are messed up. This is what this district has to do to fix them. Some of these people can fix them, some of them can't. And then this is what we have to do to maintain those fixes once they're made. Yeah.
That's your strategic plan. This is just an assessment. That what you're talking about is your whole strategic plan. And
What I'm
beside-
saying is the assessment doesn't do us any good unless we're committed to doing these things. It's just a waste of
I'm
money.
not trying to
because-
argue with you,
Yeah.
trustee. I'm only pointing out that you are not going to get all of that in an assessment. There's separate items that you're asking for. An assessment of people that have done work for us. We have to do that. No external body is going to come in and say, oh, you hired Swinnerton. They didn't do a good job on that. We have to do that with some scope, with some checkpoints to say, did they meet this? Did they do this? Or did they do that? Yes, we can add that to this assessment, but they can't come in and tell us that this vendor did a good job and this vendor didn't. They can give you a rubric for you to determine that, but you can't add that into assessment and ask somebody to come in and tell you how well someone else did. They can give you a rubric, you can go through and do check things, and then you can come up with your own assessment. We can say that, develop a rubric, but we can't expect someone to come in and tell us if they did a good job or not without an independent rubric. And this is what you're asking for. Something where somebody else comes in and says, you can determine if they did a good job if you look at this, and this. I just want to be.
What can they do, Chancellor, out of curiosity?
It's like FitMat did. They came in and said, based upon industry standards, these are the things that you guys should be doing, and you aren't. Fix it. Here's some guidelines, here's some recommendations, here's some best practices, and you give us a status report. This is different. We're not asking these people, whoever it is, to come and give us a status report.
On item 10.6 in the FICMAT report, it says, has a quantitative facilities condition index assessment been conducted sometime in the last 3 years through the Foundation of California Community College?
That's a total cost of ownership. We have not done that. That's part of your.
The FICMAT report says, yes, we've done.
We've done that, but it hasn't been done in the last 3 years. I've been here 39 months in December, which is coming up on a little over 2.5 years. We have not done that. It's time for us to do that, but that's part of that strategic facilities master plan. When you do that, it's not part of what you're voting on today. This provides a foundation for us to do what the colleges just did, which is to have study groups, to have people fill out surveys, to look at the reports that we got from our charrette, to look at the college's master plan, and to put all of that in the soup and come up with a facilities master plan. And that is a component of that facilities master plan, is to have that. How we've been doing, what are our renders? Do we need to update the scopes? All of that kind of stuff. So it can be done, but it's not what this is.
Right. I think I have some hands on there. Trustee Johannes, go ahead.
Okay, so a lot has been said. There have been amendments in between, and all kind of stuff has changed. I want to go back to closer to the beginning of the conversation where Trustee Gonzalez-Brito and Trustee Napoli Abella Reese were speaking to the point of urgency. Well, I'll just bring it up. You were saying it's been going on for possibly 20 years at this point, and facilities are in serious need of updating or what have you. Let's do this assessment, especially since we have this incoming Chancellor. We don't want to throw everything at her at once in January. I heard that part. I also heard, well, in response, we do understand what FICMAT is and what they do. Let's not put that out there in the universe that maybe some of us don't. But what Trustee Gonzalez-Brito
mention is that you're asking for us to add the assessment, items to assess as well. As other board members who get this on, let's say, a Thursday or a Friday, and then in the meeting, we hear, oh, also give us some assessments. Yeah, we can, but if, let's say I give you a couple items that I'm thinking of right now, and then later we receive this assessment in whatever amount of time, I say, hey, did you also check this thing out? They say, well, you didn't ask. Well, I didn't, give me a second. I didn't have time to even think about that thing. So if you're saying this 20 years and this is urgency, listen, you know that the quote, I had to write it down. If you know the question, that's 50% of the answer. So we need a clear assessment, and to say, give us some ideas for assessment right here, right now in the moment is not going to help us get closer to that answer. The urgency, it's still going to be something to get towards. And all that to say, I would actually like to put this off for another month for us to come to, if you want actually want assessments from us, ideas of assessments from us, I will put this off a month. But if you think it's that urgent, let's the board decide on an extra meeting in between then, if we really think it's the case. So I'm open to either.
So I'm going to jump in because I haven't had a chance to speak at all on this. So what I'm hearing is that the majority of the board, and then I think Trustee Reese, if I may, we're looking at potentially maybe bringing this back in December. Would that be okay with everybody? That way it gives everybody time to review the FCMAT report if you have not, or to refresh yourself if you have and have not done it in a while, and then come back with ideas, to come back with ideas at our December meeting to be able to articulate the scope of this assessment and the solutions that we want to see and the outcomes that we want to see in that particular meeting. That way we're not rushing through anything. We're simply building a roadmap for Dr. Gilkerson to be able to come in and say, hey, this is what we're looking at. We haven't had an assessment done in a while. This is an updated assessment with new board members, which I will say we have a significant amount of board members that have changed since the last FCMAT report, right? We have not had one since Chancellor Jackson's been our chancellor, and it's been a few years. So that's what I'm proposing. I'm not saying yes or no on this. I'm saying, why don't we give us some time and space to be able to think about this and then come back and have a more detailed discussion at our December meeting.
So we need a motion to take.
Okay, go ahead.
So I guess I wouldn't mind tabling this to December, but I also am confused as to why we won't, the proposal I would like to see a proposal come back from DGS to say, this is what the assessment will do. This is how it will, this is what we want it to do. This is how it will work with the facility strategic master plan. This is the information we're trying to unearth. This is why we think it's important right now. And then so that when we all leave and we've all voted on it, there's a clear because right now I think we're all going to be disappointed by what we get, because I'm not even we're clear what the expectation is of this assessment. So having a clear understanding of that with a proposal that comes back to us. Otherwise, we can have the RFQ written and come back with a proposal in January with that RFQ and vote on it in January and say, this is great. We've got our plan, let's move forward. But I'm just not comfortable. It's urgent, absolutely it's urgent, but it's also urgent that we do it right. And I want to, and right now I don't feel like it's right. So I would say proposal in December from the staff, and we have time to also think about what else needs to go in there.
So I'm entertaining a motion to table, Trustee Gonzalez Brito. I mean, it sounds like you're adding on to what I was saying, which is
So moved.
which is fine. So good. I'll second that. And so we have about a month to be able to do that. So I hope, Chancellor, that you'll have a good proposal for us when we come back in December.
So does that mean that the staff is going to come back with it, or we're just coming back?
I'm directing it to the Chancellor.
We like to have a winter break, just like everybody else. Let me start off with that. So
do we want to do it till the January?
I think we should just wait and do it in January.
Okay.
That way you have
Sounds
your chancellor in place. There's no ambiguity. It is her plan, which is, I think, the best thing at this point, rather than having the staff work through something that may or may not meet approval. And like I said, our staff has been working extremely hard. All of our staff, the presidents, from me on down, I'll say that, on the weekends, late hours, and then to try to get something together and work during the holiday season, I don't think it's fair.
I think that's great. I think the January meeting is totally fine. It gives us, again,
Madam
time and
President,
space.
point of
Excuse me.
order.
Excuse me, gives us time and place and time and space to be able to go through some of these and get a good assessment. Trustee Gonzalez, Yuan.
A motion to table is in front of us. A motion to table is not debatable. You
Yep.
vote up and down. All discussion after the motion was
I'm
made.
making it very clear what I'm trying to propose, Trustee Gonzalez.
I'm
Thank
just
you.
saying, every
Okay.
comment after the motion to table is not permitted
Okay,
unless we
then
change the
let's
rules.
vote. Thank you
Okay,
very much.
Thank you.
Did we get a second on the tabling?
I seconded that, yes.
Okay.
Student trustee Masson,
Yes.
trustee Withrow,
Yes.
trustee Johannes,
Yes.
trustee Gonzalez Yuan,
Yes.
trustee Napoli Bellarice,
Table to January, right? Or whenever.
That's what I was
Just
trying to
table.
clarify, but
Yeah.
yes.
that was a yes, I'm sorry.
Very much so.
Thank you, ma'am. Trustee Gonzalez Brito,
Yes.
trustee Quinlan,
Yes.
trustee Delphine Polk,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you very much. Let's go ahead and move to 11.3. Consider ratification of the warrant payment report for the period covering October 1 through October 31st.
Move approval of items 11.3 and 11.4, the purchase order report as well.
Thank you. Second? I'll second that. Any discussion? Let's move to a vote.
Student trustee Masson,
Yes.
trustee Withrow,
Yes.
trustee Johannes,
Yes.
trustee Gonzalez Yuan,
Yes.
trustee Napoli Bellarice,
Yes.
trustee Gonzalez Brito,
Yes.
trustee Quinlan,
Abstain.
trustee Delphine Polk,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you very much. Let's go ahead and move to Board of Trustee reports. Does anyone have a report they'd like to share tonight? Go ahead, Trustee Gonzalez Brito.
Yeah, thank you. I spent some time with the Latinx network at Laney College after following up on a conversation with Laura Contreras Laura. And I was really inspired by their commitment to Laney becoming an HSI. And their willingness to do the work around it. And I just want to lend my support for that. It's the only college that hasn't received that status yet. And there's so much to be gained from it. So thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Trustee Quinn, I'm sorry, VP Quinlan, go ahead.
Yes, so last week I visited the CalWorks program, and they're doing an amazing job collecting clothing and presents and funds for families, CalWorks families, especially single mother families, and supporting those students and their kids. And hopefully this will make it a little bit easier for them to go to school.
I also was in the meeting just after you, Trustee Gonzalez Brito, meeting with the folks over at Laney College to discuss how to bring Laney College into an HSI. This is something I've been talking about since I ran, and this is something that I'm hoping to bring. I'm sure you and I can discuss it with Dr. Gilkerson about how much of a priority this is, and to make sure that we're bringing resources onto our campus to serve the students that we have, which almost half of our students at the Peralta Colleges are Latina. So I'm really happy to have spent some time with them, and I really thank them for making space to be able to do that. So looking to my right, are there any hands for reports?
Thank you, President. I'm looking forward to attending this coming week, the 9th annual leadership retreat of the California Asian Pacific American Leadership Network in San Francisco. It's one of the largest national gatherings of Asian American electeds in the, I guess, in the country. That's sort of redundant now, isn't it? In any case, I look forward to reporting back on that at our next board meeting.
Trustee Reese or Trustee Withrow?
Oh,
No,
one
start.
other thing, some of you might see me hobbling about. I've torn my Achilles tendon and it's going to be months. So as you see me wheeling about, you know what happened.
Okay, seeing no more reports, we'll go ahead and move to announcements. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, Trustee Withrow, go ahead. And then we do have student trustees. I apologize. Go ahead, Trustee Withrow.
This last week is celebrated as Veterans Week. And Thursday morning, the Lake Merritt Breakfast Club invited our interim chancellor to come speak, but not as the chancellor. She came to speak as a retired colonel. She spent a little over 30 years in the armed forces and gave a tremendous presentation, very heavily received. In fact, I'm still getting phone calls on how great they thought her presentation was. Then on Friday, and this is to just reemphasize what Dr. Bashami already mentioned, the College of Alameda provided a table at a Veterans Affair aboard the USS Hornet. The Hornet was commissioned in 1943, which was to the month, the 80th anniversary. And the featured speaker was a active duty vice admiral. There aren't many of those. And he gave a great presentation. So we celebrated. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's move to announcements.
Yes, so we have 5 announcements for this evening. Number 1, we're thrilled to announce that spring is free at the Peralta Colleges. Open enrollment for spring 2024 semester begins tomorrow, Wednesday, November 15th. Fees will be waived for California residents who apply for financial aid and enroll in at least 6 credit hours. Visit www.peralta.edu/enroll to start the enrollment process. 2, students who want to finish faster can enroll now for winter intercession classes at College of Alameda. Earn 3 credits in only 3 weeks with classes starting in December. Visit www.alameda.edu for more information. Number 3, please join us on December 15th, 2023 at Merritt College for the Hail and Farewell Gala sponsored by the Peralta Association of African American Affairs. We will be welcoming incoming Chancellor Dr. Tamil Gilkerson, the Hale, and we will honor Dr. Jackson as she transitions from interim Chancellor back to her well-deserved retirement to farewell. The gala is a Peralta Colleges Foundation fundraiser, and details on how to purchase tickets are posted at www.peralta.edu in the events across the district section. Number 4, the Peralta College Community District will be closed in observance of Thanksgiving holiday on Thursday, November 23rd and Friday, November 24th. And 5th, there's only one board of trustees meeting in November and in December. The last board meeting in 2023 will be on Tuesday, December 12th.
Okay, and seeing no other business, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.